actually want to do, which was dumb, stupid things. And
I appreciate that because I tell people my elevator pitch is like, I get paid to do stupid doodles, and I'm very lucky.
It's time for Gavin Doodle.
hello, everyone. Hello, everybody. It is Gab Doodle with yours truly, Mark Hoffman. Today we have a early edition, a 11 a.m. Eastern edition, because we have a special guest star on who has to go teach later today. The one and only Lauren Lowen. I knew Lauren as Lauren Minko back in the day, and is online as Lauren Minko Lowen. But Lauren is a multifaceted illustrator, does Kidlit, does surface design, does all sorts of odds and ends, and has been a great resource for my teaching, to be able to say, look at how diverse and broad the types of work that they can get are, and students learn from that quite well. So today, I'm going to have our guest join us in just a matter of a minute. Let me switch to my old face. Where's the switcheroo? There we go. That's me. Hello, everybody. Trying to get my camera to not be all crooked. There we go. So as usual, today, as we work, we're going to have conversation and all that kind of stuff, but know that at the end of this, I try to post all these to YouTube. Right now, I put up 3 this last weekend that are there to peruse, I guess is the best way to put it. And so if you can, go check those out. They have lots of wonderful information in them. We're going to get more information today. Information meaning like good tips and tricks. So let me let our guest in. I'm going to put a Ask Us Anything in the comments. If you have any questions, you can throw them in the comments and I will ask accordingly. Let me see. There we go. I'm just going to pin that real quick. Okay, I'm going to let our guest in. Here we go. And now I stare. There we go. Hello, how are you?
Hi, long time no see.
Yeah, seriously.
Face to
Well,
face.
I've kept up with you, obviously, but yeah,
Right.
long time chat. When, for those that don't know, again, Lauren, I always want to call you Lauren Minko.
That's okay.
Lauren Lowen, used to teach at the school that I teach at ages and ages ago, and that was probably like pretty early on in your teaching
It
career.
was. I mean, I was hired when I was 22. By the time I was in the classroom, I was 23, and you kind of helped me find my sea legs. We both went to the Rhode Island School of Design. I think you graduated before. We were never there at the same time.
When did you graduate?
I graduated 2006.
Oh yeah, okay. I thought there was crossover, but I guess there wasn't.
Oh, okay. When did you graduate?
2000.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, there wasn't. For some reason, in my mind, I thought we were there at the same time. But
I think it
obviously,
was, yeah, just again, it all like blurs together. But yeah, so Mark and I knew each other in past lives. Um, and yeah, I kind of was a dork and moved away ended up back in Nashville to take on an in-house job. And from there went back to freelance. I'm kind of just like spieling into my
no, go for it.
elevator pitch.
This is
Just to
perfect.
make people went to get an in-house job because I kind of felt like I was a little stagnant. So I figured like I'm going to go to grad school or I'm going to go to a job. And I was really interested in art licensing and surface design, which now there's lots of great resources for it. But back then there wasn't anything.
Yeah.
So I ended up taking a job at a company that did deal with that. So I could kind of just be in the trenches and learn about that. After 2 years, went back to freelance, and I've been a Jennifer Nelson artist ever since, and that's been great. And so I do a lot of art licensing and surface design, but I've also gone into publishing children's books, Advertisements. Sometimes I've done work with like LG Mobile and like Carl's Jr. out of all things.
What'd you
Um,
do for Carl's Jr.?
I did their Christmas card, and I did like
Oh,
a French fry menorah and cheeseburgers like skiing down slopes. So
okay.
it was pretty awesome. But yeah, I've just been happily doing my thing, and then just finding where the art takes me. And you're
Yeah.
right, I did get married since I saw you. So my name is now Lauren Lowen, which is a bit of a mouthful. But I like to tell people it's kind of like my superhero name. It's like Peter Parker or Lois Lane
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Bruce Banner. So yeah.
It's one of those things where like you going into surface design, as I mentioned at the top, uh, excuse me, we have a lot of students that come into the school that are not necessarily like, they don't understand certain genres of illustration. Like, of course, they understand like what comics are and things of that sort.
Right.
But
Yeah.
to explain to them like what advertising is, I have people that I reference. And I'm like, here's someone that does advertising. Here's someone that does this. And when it gets into the service design and licensing, it's always you and Susie Ghahremani are the
Okay.
ones
Yeah.
that, if you know Susie,
Boy girl party. Yeah.
yeah, and like the idea of like the versatility of your work being able to sort of transition from all sorts of different avenues of illustration, but then also talking about because they don't get what surface design is or how it
Oh
works.
yeah.
And so like I learned some of that from just watching your career about like Surtex and all the different things that are out there, and am able to relay all that to the students. And now we're seeing more and more students want to go that path.
Yeah. It was something that was for a long time like in house. And if anyone is still confused, like, well, what are they talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah,
We're
yeah.
talking about like art for products. So luckily I have, like, for instance, this is not mine. This is actually Target, but this is a good example of like
Yeah.
patterns for journals and shower curtains and things that we kind of take for granted. But like that everyday art that you might see on a shirt or again, like a tote bag or shower curtains or stuff like that, or a rug.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're talking about. And yeah, I think it's something that, especially in the 90s, what started to happen with the internet and stuff is those in-house departments at companies like Hallmark or Target got smaller. They're still there, but we started to use that to there was this thing now where it's like, well, we're just going to reach out to an artist and
Yeah.
license a few designs, which that model always has its pluses and minuses, technology and the internet. And so I think not only is it a fairly new industry, but it took a while for those people to come back into the classroom, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. As an
Yeah.
educator, you understand how that is. There's kind of I think we're also seeing it with Procreate again. Like, I don't know about you, but like 5 years ago, I had maybe only a couple of students who were working in Procreate. Now it's like everyone has it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's a great example of something where it's been out and the professionals are using it, and it's trickled down to
And now
the
we have
younger
to.
generation
Yeah.
or younger generation. And now we're realizing like, okay, we probably need to start touching upon this in our curriculum.
We've started looking in our college at the idea, because they get the Adobe suite, and then it
Right,
becomes
right.
like that's standard fare, but is it anymore? Is it something else? And the subscription model changed that. Students don't want it. We can get into this weeds later.
Right. We're in
They're
like
teaching about
talk mode. Like,
subscription models now. But no, I've been super appreciative of your work. And then the one thing that I've always sort of linked your work to as well is the sort of quirkiness of, and quirky is such a sort of
like buzzword.
yeah. But just like the fact that you have pop culture references and things like that thrown into the work, and yet it still maintains sort of a cute aspect and has the color and all that kind of odds and ends, but you have a real sort of pop culture kind of vibe to your work that I think sells well, specifically to the audience that you're aiming towards. And so it's fun to watch, and then to see that transition. And I don't know if folks watching pay attention to this that much, but the age of parents
Oh
as they
yes.
grow up for
Yes.
like kids books and things, like the books that we grew up with are very much tied to our parents and like what they thought was the hip thing probably at the time, and now it's shifted to sort of our, our
Right.
culture has brought that. The generation has changed, sort of what people want, and so like the stuff that you make is so in tune with sort of the generation that is having kids now versus again the generation up. Um, so let's chat for a second about what we're doing today. Um, I know you have you have to teach later today,
I have
and so
time though. Yeah.
yeah. So we gotta get to drawing. But what are you going to work on today?
Well, it's funny you mentioned culture. I'm going to work on hip hop animals.
Okay, okay,
So
makes sense.
I actually have my Run DMC tracksuit reference. I got some like salt and pepper. So
Mm,
again, what you said is very convenient.
yeah,
Very.
no PM Dawn, no.
Oh, I don't. Oh, let's see.
Wait, you remember
Oh
PM Dawn,
yes,
don't you?
yes. I actually
Yeah.
just saved some of that on a playlist. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Set a
Going
drip
for
up
this.
memory bliss of you. Yeah. Uh,
So we'll see. I think there's going to be some Coolio hair.
okay. Okay.
Um,
Good. Again, that's like
so
right up your alley of your portfolio. It's just not just animals. It's animals and hip hop mixed together. Or I know that like wrestling and my wife wanted me to talk to you a little bit about Star Trek. So we know you're a Star Trek fan.
yeah,
So
definitely
like
90s Star Trek,
yeah.
but yeah, I can't say
Yeah.
I'm hip to the newer ones, but
You haven't watched the newest one, the Strange New Worlds or
I've seen the first three episodes. Like a lot of this is, and for people who don't know, I actually have a Star
podcast?
Trek podcast.
Yeah.
Um, your wife's like Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yes, and part of it was just like time. I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old,
Oh,
and
okay.
just and also my podcast host. She's a musician. She's amazing. Shout out to Larissa Maestro, but she was on tour of Hosier for the last 2 years, so we just had to stop
Interesting.
because
Okay.
she's a cello player. And so she was just like touring the world, having adventures. So
Yeah.
she's finally back, and I think we're trying to find the groove. We were going to probably try to watch the Section 31 movie, which I feel like I'm kind of geeking out for a lot of you guys in the
I don't know
audience.
what I
But
don't know what
yeah,
that is. Section 31.
that's okay. your,
Is
your
it
wife
Star?
probably does. Hmm?
Is it Star Trek?
It is, but it's kind of like Star Wars, where like Star Trek has sort of like
Oh, okay.
they're
Okay.
they're like, we need content. We have new shows and new cartoons, and we have the cartoons for grown-ups, and we have the
Yep.
cartoons for kids, and
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. I'll have to look that one up after this. Um, so we found out what you're making, but what are you using is the other big question. What are the materials?
Okay, well, I am a little bit in transition right now because I've always taught, but I went full time, and at home I actually don't have a studio. So I'm making my office at the school I teach at in Nashville, Belmont University. I'm kind of slowly moving all my stuff in. You can see my like
Yeah.
vintage Japanese Barbarella poster in the corner. So I don't know if this is, I don't want to say cheating, but I'm using Procreate, which I'm hoping the ring light won't reflect on it too much, but so I might have to turn it off, but we'll just see.
Give it a little angle, maybe, so it
Yeah.
straight back. Yeah.
If not, I think we have plenty of light. But I think just because of that and honestly nerves, I thought like, well, this will probably be the easiest thing.
So you can go
Yeah.
back and erase. So you can undo.
Or people can see how I do stuff.
Good. So the rule of engagements or the rules of engagement here are it's conversation wherever you want it to go.
Okay.
I know that you have a hard out, and so when that gets to that time frame, just let us know,
Yeah.
and we will do a little send off accordingly. But we can switch to our downshoots, switch to your ring light, and see how it works, and
Okay.
we get going.
This is new for Grandma
Yeah.
Lowen, so hopefully
Yeah.
I won't.
Yeah.
Let me
So while I do have a feed here, so I can see what you do and make sure that you don't have any issues along the way.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Let me turn off the
What Oh, you can see the ring. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see it in the
I'm also
question of,
hoping,
yeah, no, that seems to be okay.
bear with me, everyone.
It's also going to light up. The screen itself is going to light up as you
That's
get going,
true.
so it
Is
shouldn't
this
be too
working? Do I
dramatic.
need to flip my phone around?
I normally flip it around and then, because right now it's probably backwards
I
technically.
was
It's
gonna
probably
say.
in reverse. Um, so I normally flip mine around and shoot from the normal camera as you go. You're also
Oh,
upside down in it,
yes. So
so
if I do,
you gotta rotate the camera.
no,
Like,
not like that. You know,
or
you mean
100.
literally rotate.
Yeah.
Oh, and this will actually fix my. Okay, all right, now I'm gonna go up here. Oh my goodness.
This is where we really do prove our technology skills. Don't let the students see this.
Boomers.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
is it still? That doesn't seem right.
Oh wait, where are your hands now? Yeah, your hands are upside down, so you got to rotate the camera 180 degrees.
Oh, I can flip this. Sorry, guys, this is all new for me.
You're getting it. You're getting it.
I'm
It's
getting
fine.
it. We're doing it. All
Um.
right, here we go. I got this, like, I bought this gooseneck thing specific.
Oh, did we? Are you there?
Yay.
Oh, okay. There we go. There we go.
Yeah,
Just
just
cut out.
accidentally pressed something on my phone.
Um.
All right, are we good?
Yeah, I think we're solid. You can probably roll
I'll
from
go
there.
ahead and go up just a
Um.
little bit.
This gooseneck thing, once I got it, I've used it so much for like interviews for podcasts or whatever it may be over
Yeah.
time that it has earned its. I don't even know if I got it or if my wife got it for me as a gift. It's earned its keep. Let's put it that way.
All of my good technology has come from my husband when I've been holding out, and he's like, "Here, you need this."
Yeah. There are things that I've bought for this career now, like various tripods and like the curtain behind me, of course. Like I never would have thought I'd be mounting a curtain to my ceiling here.
It's
But just
smart.
stuff that I need now for this career, especially, I don't know if it's the same for you, but my house is, it's a normal New England house. And so there's just not a ton of space to set up like this big giant studio to
All
have
right.
unless it's in some weird location, which it is. So tell me a little bit about, let's go back to the beginning, and
Sure.
I'm gonna need an update on life and all that kind of stuff from you. But let's go back to the beginning and start with just sort of the beginning of career. And obviously, when you went to school, I imagine your career was not projected in the same way in your head.
Oh gosh, no.
Now, you just didn't have knowledge, or it was, or the industry wasn't really even up and running in the same way. So can you give us a sense of sort of that beginning stages and what your thoughts were going to school and what you thought you'd be doing versus where you are now?
Yeah, I thought I was going to be a fashion major.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, very different. Trying to figure out what I
What,
want my.
when you say fashion major, meaning like you actually applied for fashion,
I mean, when I
or?
went to RISD, we never had to declare our major, if you remember. Well, at least when I went there, like you picked your major after foundation year.
Yeah.
So, but I think you had to say like what you were interested in. But in my mind, I thought I couldn't remember the drill. Tell me if you can't hear me. I'm worried I'm going
No,
to start getting
totally,
farther and farther away
totally fine. I
from.
can hear you. A-okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think part of it was I was always artistic. I had a very limited view. For those of you who don't know, I am an illustration major. So that's where this story is ending. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna I shoot from the hip when I sketch, and usually that gets me. I'm gonna do an octopus, like a octopus in a tracksuit. I have no idea if this is gonna work, so we'll see. What are you drawing, Mark, real quick before I
Oh, here, I don't know if you can see the screen where you are, but
on the
I'm doing a wolf that is sneaking into a castle to get the princess asleep.
oh
And
my
so
god.
I want to do this sort of like puzzly, kind of like quilty
Nice.
castle. And so he's climbing up the tower.
Oh,
I don't know. I wanted
I
to
love
draw
it.
some sort of slinky animal. And so
Slinky animal. Mine's
That's
kind of slinky-esque.
what it was. Wait a second. I have a question for you. You said that you had to declare after freshman year.
Yes.
You didn't declare in the middle?
Maybe I did. I kind of do remember some pressure to be like, hey, before fall ends. I mean, I'm 41, so that's kind of a while
Yeah.
ago.
I just
You know
remember
what I
it being
mean?
during winter session, like right
Yeah,
after
that
winter
sounds
session.
right.
And I was thinking maybe they changed it since, and I didn't know, but um, it's very early to choose if you are unsure. Let's put it that way. What you're going to
Right,
be.
right. So
Um, Go ahead.
I
Go ahead.
I thought I was going to be um thought I was gonna be fashion. I made a skirt with my mom the summer before, and there was no zipper or anything. It was just like a pull string skirt, and I just despised that. And I thought, okay, this is not what I want to do. So the summer before freshman year, I totally nixed that one. Um, and then, oh my goodness. And then, so I thought I was going to do animation. And if you look at my old sketchbooks, there's a lot of, I loved characters, and
Yeah.
just like everyone, I was a 90s, I was that first wave of like finding anime off of forums, and it's not like how it is today, kids. It's
No.
hard.
No. Yeah. It
And
didn't buy easy. You had to order stuff from
right.
overseas to get your
And
hands. Yeah.
so many of, I see so many of my students, and I'm like, I used to be you. But yeah, so I had a lot of sketchbooks full of that, or kind of almost like Disney-esque things. And so yeah, so I thought like, well, I love characters. I guess I should go into animation so I can make, movies and TVs and stuff like that. And I was during winter session, which is sort of our winter break,
Yeah.
at RISD for our listeners. I went to see a presentation for the animation department. And while I was there, I was early, and illustration just happened to be before that presentation. And I was blown away with what I was seeing that counted as illustration. Because if you'd asked me then, for me, it was like, oh, well, it's, political cartoons and lovingly rendered watercolor picture books of like knights fighting dragons. Like that's
Yeah.
what I thought illustration could be. Like a lot of people, or yeah, like it's a guy with a business suit and he's going
Yeah.
into a bank.
Yeah. He's walking to the edge of a cliff.
Right. Oh
That's
no, editorial.
yeah.
So I when I saw it, and I saw that it could be 2D, it could be 3D. When I saw the range, I was like, oh, this is for me. This is so interesting, and I had no idea. Those are gonna be like Adidas shoes. My little octopus soon. Just decided. Yeah, that I was just won over, and then the animation department came on, and no offense to them, I watched it, but I was just like, no, I got to go to illustration, because I also realized that the things I like, the characters, it wasn't necessarily the animators that were conceptualizing them. It
Yeah.
was the illustrators that were doing that. They were the ones deciding who the characters were, what they looked like, and then it was, someone. It was, animators within getting that and then making them move. So I actually ended up taking some animation classes and stuff in college, but I also realized I do not have the patience for it.
Yes. Yes. I think that's a surprising factor for a lot of kids. It's like, I really want to be an animator because they love animation, and then they sit down and find out the wear and tear, and like, more power to the people that can do it. But
Right.
it does take a lot of patience, and it does take a lot of sort of repetition. And if you don't have that mindset, it can be challenging. And so I don't know do you have animation at your school?
We are actually, it's funny you mentioned that. We have a veteran Disney person who just relocated to Nashville area and is opening up his own independent studio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know how much of that I'm supposed to actually be talking about, but he is doing an animation class for us.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of going to be I kind of messed up here, and I sketched like, as we were talking, I kind of started working over the sketch. But that's okay. We'll work with this. So yeah, so Belmont is, my college actually got absorbed by them 3 years ago. Like seriously, right before COVID hit. It was kind of a messy year.
Yeah.
Um, and so so sorry. Anyways, yeah, one of the things we're trying to do is it's animation, but it's more than animation because there's so much more in that category now. And our goal is for someone to be an animation major and they can go into video games or they can go into
Yep.
movies or motion design or experimental design. So yeah, the very long answer to that question you just asked me is yes, we're getting there. And
Okay.
remind me, are you still at Montserrat or where do
I
you
am.
teach?
I've been
Are
there
you
for
the chair head?
it's so I've been there for since 2004.
Okay.
So a long time. Fred has since moved down to RISD full time,
Okay.
and
All right.
so I took over his chair, or what we call coordinator, and now I'm actually the chair of um, that oversees animation, graphic design, illustration,
Whoa.
a new games toy and play.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm sort of the rep to various folks that are on campus related to that, and so it's sort of the next tier up, but effectively it's all the same people, so it's not like anything drastically changes.
Okay. And
I report into people.
Corinne Reed teaches there now, right?
Corinne is the
Corinne. Oh no, I'm sorry. I
no, that's fine.
butchered.
She's the coordinator of the illustration program right now, so
That's
she's the one that's
awesome.
taken that over for the time being. And we've had people roll in, roll out. Probably a lot of people but yeah, it's been a long haul. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way. And I know the struggles, especially with you mentioning like COVID and all that stuff. We know the struggles.
Oh
We've been
gosh.
there. We've
As
seen it
teachers and
all.
as parents.
Yes. Yeah.
uh,
Um, so tell me a little bit about sort of you go through school, you become or you take these illustration classes and they align somewhat more with what you want to do. But what surprises me is the like not knowing early on exactly like when I don't think I ever went to any of the presentations of the programs because I was just like, I know exactly what I'm doing. And I'm not saying that
really?
like, how dare you, but more so, it's the folks that I knew kind of had a idea, or the folks that I hung out with kind of had an idea of where they were going. And I think, excuse me, partially because of how you find out about a school and what kind of information you got when you were in uh, high school. Like the
Right.
way that we found out about schools when I went there was a book.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't websites that could manage it. And so like you kind of made decisions early on of like, I need to look at schools that have this kind of program versus sort of a broad thing because you didn't have books that would explain all the options to you at those locations. And so did you feel like once you ended up in illustration, did it all just absolutely make sense, or was there still some struggle because you had some like pre-existing idea of what direction you were supposed to go in?
I think once I got into Illustrator, I think all that I actually shedded my freshman year.
Okay.
Just being in the dorms and stuff. And it's kind of interesting because I think my art changed very quickly once I was in the department. And part of that I think was I was it's kind of weird when you go to art school because like a lot of us are used to being like the art kid in high
Yep.
school.
Yeah.
And then you go to a school, especially one like RISD, and you're like, oh, damn, like I'm average.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things I quickly kind of realized was, I maybe enjoyed faces and stuff, but part of me was like, this very like hyper slick traditional style that I have been trying to emulate. I don't know how much I enjoy it. So I quickly it's really weird. Like I let go of it. There's a huge change between freshman and sophomore year. And I kept experimenting. I was doing everything from collage to oil paints. I also feel like the people you go to school with changes. You know, it's almost like there's seasons and generations of students. And I went to school with a lot of people that ended up in like the gaming industry, and like Cameron Scott Davis, and like I don't know if you know any of these names, Mark, but just like people who now work for AAA games and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's, again, it's that very like John Foster would be a good example.
Oh,
Like
okay. Yep.
it
Yep.
was, but it's interesting because after we graduated, then it was like this wave of, you know, you had Victor Nagai, you had Phoebe Walls, you had all these people that were playing with, I feel like maybe even a more kind of abstract or European take of
Yep.
illustration, more funky, more stylized. And sometimes, I mean, I don't have any regrets, but sometimes it's like, man, I wonder what would have happened if I had been to school with that group. Like, would I have felt a little bit more comfortable with this wonky style I've been using? Because it's in my sketchbooks everywhere. If you look at my college sketchbooks, I hands down,
You've been doing this for ages.
right. But I was just like always playing around, or, you know, I was like, oh, that
It's
doesn't count.
Yeah, I was
Um,
gonna say you discredit it, or it's a sketch and not a finish in the way that like your mind looks at something like that as like
right.
this isn't good enough to be put out there into the world of some sort.
Yeah. Like, well, this isn't my serious work, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And as a teacher now, like I see that in my students, and I know when to be like, hey, this thing you're doing is really awesome. And,
Hmm.
you know, that's not something, if you enjoy it, like that's, you know, they're usually like, really? I didn't think this was good enough. And so
I
I've been there myself.
I end up the challenge I have right now is, and I'm imagining this is sort of you have the same issue with the students of the trying to get them to separate themselves a little bit from the pack,
Oh,
because
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
come
yeah,
in with the
yeah.
same reference points and like, and I don't want everybody to do the exact same thing, but it's a matter of trying to develop their own voice that isn't so I don't want to say derivative, but is so tied to their reference points or their um, their upbringing, and start to look outside at other things that are just absolutely wild or different. And so like
Right.
that same sentiment, like when I have the same issue. If I go back and look at my sketches, like the quality or interest level that I had is still there, like the quirkiness and the weirdness, but I was trying to emulate what was happening at the time. I was trying to emulate what was on the shelves or what
Huh.
was in the media that I had, and potentially not living up to it in some way, and not sort of saying, okay, well, why not just lean into what I actually want to do, which was dumb, stupid things. Uh, and
I appreciate that because I tell people my elevator pitch is like, I get paid to do stupid doodles, and I'm very lucky.
Mhm. I just did a presentation for a sophomore class yesterday, and I told the same thing that I tell them in elementary schools, is that I get paid to draw poop sometimes. That's like,
I
I
know
make
that.
money. That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. Like, no one told me early on that that was a thing that I could do, and so it was like, let me emulate. Like, I was a big Waterhouse fan when I was in school, JW Waterhouse. I was
Oh,
always like, I want to paint like that. Or, I know you have that piece that's on your, that you've posted a few times, I think is a self portrait.
oh, okay. I'm
The
not
sort of like
sure.
bluish gray, like sort of fisheye
Oh,
lens.
yes, yes, yes. Well, that's actually another student, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh,
That's
I thought that
Sarah
was,
Mantell from RISD.
who is that then?
Is it an oil painting, like hyper realistic?
Sort of. I thought that was you. Wasn't that you?
No, that was, well, I don't know. That was somebody named Sarah B. Mantell.
No, I'm thinking something else
Oh,
then. 'Cause
oh, shoot.
I'd have to go back and look. I feel like there was something that you posted that was like old work.
Yeah, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Here, wait, 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 wait. We're, hold
I can
on.
go. I can go look it up. And I like
I
how I'm
can.
like trying to describe your work to you at some point, but I
No,
think it
it's
was
not
you.
that one. Hold on. I can probably pick it up. Okay, wait. Okay, let's see if I can. Is it this one?
Hold on, let me see. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's you, right? That's
No,
self-portrait.
no,
Oh, I thought it was.
no. We both had really short hair though, and it's obviously distorted. So here, wait.
But
Let me.
but that's not your work?
Oh, wait, no, it's my work. I'm just saying it's not
Oh.
me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's I just assumed it was you because it was sort of uh we did so many self-portraits back in the day that I chalked it
Yeah.
up to that. Um okay, but that when I look at that and then I look at your stuff now, like there's such a chasm between it, and not to say that's bad work or anything of the sort, but you can see there's a like my work has the same thing where I was trying to do not necessarily hyper realism, but I was trying to be a painter and not
Right.
a goofball designer or a thinker in a way. And so that
Well,
was the
and it's so
sentiment.
amazing. It's been really a trip to watch your work evolve. Um, I used to share a studio if you had Kayla Stark, and I
Oh
don't
yeah,
remember if you've had the pleasure of interviewing Rebecca Green.
I have
Um,
not yet. We're trying to get Rebecca on.
nice. She used to live in Nashville. Kayla, and I were part of a bigger studio of illustrators. And I remember Rebecca and I looking at your portfolio. This was probably in 2016, 17. And she was in the process of really trying to, we always said how we kind of wanted to like de-evolve, for lack of a better word. We were
Yeah,
trying to like unlearn, because she's another one who has like a very traditional education, and she and I were like, we want to play. And I remember us looking at your work and just being like, how does he do it? We wish we could just have like your brain for a day.
that
um
what's funny is like thinking back that far, I feel like my work wasn't very playful. But
no,
and
yeah,
this is the after effect of like looking at it and as the artist going, I didn't see it, but
right.
I'm judging too hard. But it definitely has become more playful, and I mean, looking at your work too, it's the same thing. This is where we like compliment each other for a long time. Um,
Well,
uh,
this is the
I
funny
remember
part.
I have a postcard of yours that I show students.
Oh man, it's got to be old.
It's probably pretty ancient, but it's just I have this giant collection, and I saved one of yours, and the sort of like proportion oddness of it is always so like
Mm-hmm.
lovely. And I try to stress
Kind
to
of.
students all the time, like you don't have to be like we want to train you in this thing where it's like you should know how to draw in proportion, but like now's the time to break the rules, and now's the time to play with that and think outside of the box. And
Well,
that card is a
right.
good sort of reference point for like you don't have to live in this world of realism even though you've been trained in it. Like we've given you the ingredients to make a lovely cake, but you can make a pancake or a waffle instead if you really want at this point.
And
um
it's kind of the idea. I remember my brother, because he's an artist too. He once said, "You can't break the rules unless you know them."
yep.
Yeah,
Yep,
and it's
classic sort of approach. You have to understand them. Um,
right.
so tell me a little bit about sort of the because a lot of the folks that tune in here are interested in jumping into that world of Kidlit, and I know that
Oh
you
boy.
have sort of bounced around in different genres.
Yeah.
But did you start out? I mean, you said the surface design, like you moved down to Nashville and you got into surface design and licensing. Um, Actually, could you do me a quick favor just to make sure that I have my head wrapped around it?
Yeah.
You define that as surface design and licensing, not just surface design with licensing. Like there's a separation that's being stated there.
That's funny because sometimes I don't think we know. Sometimes it's just okay. So it's funny because like art licensing can kind of be a problem because that's more of like the business practice.
Yeah.
Because in surface design is more the product, and I think sometimes why I say that is because technically in surface design you can also you can do it's a buyout. It's not a work for hire, the way we think about it in other markets, but like you're not always licensing work for products. So sometimes just saying art licensing can be a little problematic. But as long as we all know what I'm talking about, it's
Yeah.
okay.
No, it's one of those things where I didn't know if it was Well, surface design is pattern work, and licensing is like individual images that are, or like, individual design that doesn't necessarily line up with patterns or things of the sort,
Mm.
or some separation that I just didn't know about. But so you started out with that, but then you have gotten all sorts of work since. And I'm wondering, can you give us a little sort of history in the order in which those things?
Yeah. So actually, first, when I graduated, it was more I was doing. I was trying to send stuff to editorial clients like The Atlantic, and some were more kid friendly, some were very adult. Like I had one of my first jobs was the is it the Utney? Is that what I'm
Utney?
thinking of?
Yeah.
Utney. Thank
Utney
you.
Reader?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Believe it or not. And I worked in gouache, by the way. I did not work um, digitally
Yeah.
until I was probably 30. Everything was done mostly some combination of like maybe there was a little digital tools once I started getting into more surface design, but for the most part, a lot of my stuff was still with gouache and paper. Um, and now it's funny, I tell people it's like my painted stuff looks more digital. It almost looks like it's vector, and then
Yeah.
it's in my digital world, my digital sandbox that everything's painterly. But yeah, when I graduated, it was like at publishing and editorial, because again, it's sort of like to some degree, like that's what the world was like back then.
Yep.
And then it was actually, oh gosh, what's her name? I know she's still at RISD. Um, she's like a master colorist, long blonde hair. Is it
Mary.
Mary? Yeah, Mary. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Um, she was like, hey, you should go to this thing in New York called Surtex. It's where, companies go and they hire artists for like stationery and stuff like that. And this was after I graduated, but she let me tag along as an alumni. And that kind of opened up like a whole new world of like, wait, I can just do silly characters.
Yeah.
And yeah. Um,
That she was a great instructor back in the day, and now like I haven't kept up with her in the same way, but she was a very influential instructor for me as well. Like there's like 5 names that I can go like, these are the people that made me who I am.
oh, and she's one of them.
She's definitely one of them. Did you have Robert Brinkerhoff?
I never had him.
Oh,
Isn't that crazy?
I had him my last semester at the school, and I adore him.
I did house sit for him. Does that count?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So you know who he is.
I know him. And I actually did teach a semester at RISD when he was department chair.
Okay. So you weren't. He's not a unknown factor there.
Entity, yes. I've had
Yeah.
the pleasure of crossing paths with him many times. And he was definitely a mentor. I just never officially had him as an instructor. There's so many good people. It's hard to take everyone.
I'm sure it's all changed so dramatically too. But I mean, just the fact that Mary Jane sort of gave you that handhold
Oh
of
gosh,
like,
yeah.
bring you along to see what's available out there in the world,
Yeah,
I
just
imagine was beneficial.
it changed
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, that because yeah, to some degree it wasn't that work shouldn't be a struggle or it shouldn't be challenging, but to some degree, yeah, I was trying to maybe force an editorial where, I mean, you kind of had your start in editorial. I remember us
Yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah. I was editorial.
Yeah, and there is a lot of fun editorial out there, but I think when there's always that trappings, especially when you're starting out, of like, I gotta check all the boxes off. Again, I need to show a businessman going to, like you said, walking off a cliff. And it's even more important with like stuff with AI now, that it's like, you're not a gun for hire anymore. If anything, being yourself is even more important.
Well, okay, we can get into, I do want to touch base on that idea of sort of like
Sorry, I'm kind of bouncing everywhere.
No. It's funny because you're coming from you speak the same language essentially as a teacher.
Right.
Like there's conversations there that I want to go like, oh man, we got to talk about this. Here's the dirt.
You're just trying to get me into surface design and licensing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But is there, looking at sort of the kidlit side, obviously, you made this leap at some point towards that, or sort of have gotten jobs, but was that something that like you knew that was
Mm,
of interest
no,
during
no, it
school,
was
or was
not.
that after?
I stumbled onto that, I would say. Maybe, yeah, I stumbled onto kids' books. Now I actually do have pitches and stuff that I have, my agent shopping around. Um,
Okay.
and if anyone's watching my drawing, I'm going to try to do these Adidas stripes and let's just see like how well we do
Yeah.
on these skinny octopus legs.
There's three Adidas stripes, right?
I think I'm going to have to do two. It happens whenever I do guitars as well. It's like,
Oh,
we're
the
not getting
strings.
three.
Oh, everything turns into a banjo. Like nothing has
Right,
the same amount
right.
of nothing has the
Um,
same amount of strings.
but that's okay. We're just going with it. And if
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
it's like, see, it's okay. I'm not doing an Adidas suit. There's only two. Um, okay, so yeah, kidlit art. I'm trying to think. I've actually done. I yeah, that's something that I kind of stumbled upon. I kind of like animation. I didn't seek out children's books because I knew it was really competitive, and at the time I didn't. I do remember like going down to New York and like setting up appointments. I remember Kelly Murphy helping me and being like, talk to this art director and just cold emailing them and being like, I'm going to be in town. Do you have 15 minutes? And that's what I did. And I spoke to Random House. I spoke to Scholastic, and these people were like, sure. So I had these 15-minute meetings and just showing them my portfolio, which I mean, now I look at and I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, this is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
embarrassing because of the work, or just embarrassing
right,
because of like
right. Because
having to
now, I mean,
show
it
up?
wasn't horrible, but I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that they were so kind.
Well, the like having to reach out and be so proactive element is so like jarring now because everything's so much online that reaching out to someone saying like I'm going to be in town feels so foreign,
Right.
compared to sort of like or the cold calling places, which wasn't unheard of in the day.
Hmm.
Now students don't want to pick up the phone anyways, and so it's such a weird sort of antiquated approach.
Right.
They'll never have to understand. Um,
Um, yeah, I'm trying to remember my first children's books I got through my agent, and it was a series of four. You actually posted one of them, and they were kind of like they were picture books, but it wasn't like Muffy and the Magic Snowball kind of story. It was
yeah.
like these grammar books. And the crazy thing was, I got pregnant in the beginning, took 2 months off for maternity leave, and then I had to come back. And when I came back, because they were like, yeah, you have time, it was something insane. Like I had like a month to do each book. And so
Oh,
I remember having a new baby who wasn't sleeping very well, my oldest, and just this like, okay, the kid's sleeping, I'm going to do a spread in 45 minutes. Um,
ouch.
yes. And
Ouch.
then maybe if I was lucky and the kid was still asleep, I would also nap. So I can't say I would do that again, but yeah, it's funny because I've done some kidlit books and I feel like I am still getting comfortable. I think one of the things about our licensing that's been nice is it really gives me this freedom just to do my thing and then find a home for it.
Yeah, yeah, sort of on spec
Um,
versus, uh,
right. It's
yeah,
kind of like doing it in cheat mode. I feel like I'm getting away with something. But it's been really great to kind of like validate what I naturally want to do and feel like, oh, okay, somebody wants it. There is still that feeling I think I wrestle through where someone's like, this is great. Can you do it, but just for a book? And then I kind of freeze up because I'm like, oh, well, if
yeah,
it's for a book, it's supposed to look like this, if that makes sense.
yeah. No, that makes sense. The idea of like just you have not you've been dealing with buyers, not art directors.
Right, right.
Yeah, gotcha. Is um do you find that, I mean, obviously you said that you have to sort of rethink um how you sort of approach it, or maybe it forces itself upon you in the sense of like the industry wants this, but do you think that the work, because I don't see a dramatic difference. I don't sit there and go like, oh well, this is clearly the stuff you're doing for yourself or for licensing, and this is the stuff you're doing for some sort of client. Um,
Right. Well,
but
that's
do you
great.
see that? Yeah, I was gonna say, do you see that difference, or is
I
that
mean,
something just
I
like,
think over the years I've learned how to deal with it. And just kind of I tell my students like you never feel that feeling, those doubts never go away. You just learn how to deal with it better.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I think there's just always that like I send sketches and I hold my breath. I think it's what, we would call imposter syndrome, where I'm like, let's see if they really want me to do this book, or if they
yeah,
go,
yeah.
oh, we changed our mind.
It's funny because I only recently have I ever had one where um, the offer comes in like, hey, we like your stuff. Here's the offer that we're thinking, but we need you to do a little sample for us
Right.
because we're going to this, big fair or whatever it is, and we want to make sure that that it hits the market at the right time or whatever. And then they ended up not going with it, and then it becomes this question in my head of like, oh, do they not do it because of me, or do they not do it because of? And there was this not necessarily imposter syndrome, but just this idea of like, I've never had someone back out of something in the same way.
Oh.
And it's a question of like, is it my fault? and more than
Mm.
likely, it has nothing to do with me.
Right.
It has totally to do with the situation that they were in at the time, or like how much money they could spend on certain books or whatever it was. But that question pops up in my head of, well, what did I do wrong? Uh,
Right.
which is challenging. So I can imagine the same thing of like getting notes, and you're not used to getting like, especially if they're extensive notes, not used to getting like crazy long notes that say change this, change that, change this. Um, do you prefer? I mean, you must prefer working on your own. Then, and
It's,
that's
I
of
mean, it's kind of a balance because, like, for instance, last year was taken up by a children's book for Penguin Random House. Um, and that is one that went like 6 months over schedule. And by the time I got done with it, I was like, oh my gosh, I have a stack of ideas I can't wait to get to. But I won't lie, like I'm in a season now where and I'm also, as a parent, it's like I'm coming out of the summer. Like the summer is just mom mode for me.
yep.
So I'm in a season now where like even today I was like, what am I going to do? I have no idea.
Mm,
So it's kind of nice that by the time I feel like I am just out of ideas and I'm like, someone just give me something to draw.
yeah.
And they're like, here. And I'm like, great, thank you. Give me that. So it really is sort of almost like a symbiotic relationship. And that's been really helpful too, to have that balance. Usually by the time I'm ready for ideas, there's something, or even my agent, she does a great job, our team, of having like, clients are looking for this work, or here's a trend we're noticing if you feel stuck.
Yeah, that's not the Jennifer Nelson artists. There's quite a few folks that I know that, and I've had people on from there
Mhm.
before, but um, they have a very good sort of set of illustrators that seem to be very simpatico as you look at the work, or like there seems to be like, it's not, you don't have some major disruptor in the group that's doing something that's so wildly different that with
That's not me.
under her brand. Oh, well, I mean, your stuff is like, there's a lot of flowers, and then your flowers are, you have flowers, but
Right.
they're sort of
Very
design
wonky.
flowers versus like floral of some sort. And so like, I think your work is distinct amongst that group, um, but there is a cohesion that happens nicely with Jennifer. Is Jennifer Nelson the actual agent that you work with?
She is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she
I didn't know
is.
if
You
it was a
can.
name, like like I met Andrea Brown Livery, but I don't
Oh,
interact
that's
with Andrea
right.
Brown. I interact with a separate agent within. Um,
Right. We have like a small team of assistant agents. But yes, we are uh, we're all like very close, you know. In fact, we
yeah,
just had like
like
an
friendly.
agency meeting yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we kind of just like, it's like having a studio where you're kind of sharing war stories and,
Wait,
you
you had an
know,
agency meeting like with all the other illustrators
uh-huh.
as an agent?
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay. I mean, there's only what, like 12 artists?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And then you have, not everyone can always make it, obviously.
Yeah,
But I think we might be done here of octopus soon. I'll move on. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's what's nice. And that's what's nice about it. And so, and she has a great place in Vermont where like some of us have taught workshops or like just visited. It's just this like acreage in this old, 1800s house that sleeps six, and like the dairy farm has been converted to the studio where the classes are, and it's nice just to like hang out with another artist that is, from Germany, but she's like, I'm gonna just stay here for a month and do art retreats. And
It just seems so much more like a family in a way versus
yeah,
a business with that kind of like
right.
or with that kind of crowd. It makes me a little jealous hearing the how you got it all figured out, don't you? Huh? With sort of the agency, are you doing stuff at all independent from the agent, or is it pretty much every bit rolls through Jennifer Nelson?
Every part of it rolls through Jennifer Nelson. That's something I talk to my students a lot about, and it's true. Like exactly like you're talking about. If like when Carl Jr. when LG Mobile found me, it was actually through Instagram, and that was a case where I was like, okay, awesome. Like, please contact Jennifer, and
Yep.
gave her the email. And I think a lot of people sometimes get spooked by that. But if you have a good agent, they should be getting you bigger jobs,
Mm-hmm.
more jobs for more money. So, I'm more than happy to fork it over to her. And
Yeah.
I tell people, it's like, would you rather have this whole grape, or would you rather have, I'm just making this number up, but like 80% of a watermelon? It's like, which one's more food?
Well, it's. I use the reference point of a job that I had where the agency, with my art agent, they wrote saying, here's this offer. We're going to ask for more, and what they offered originally and what the agency was able to get, the agency was able to get enough to cover their fee plus more.
Right.
And it's like, well, if I had done that myself, I wouldn't, like, I could have tried to negotiate and maybe it would have gone up a little bit, but they exponentially grew that number to a point where their agency fee didn't make any difference to me, not a
Right.
single bit. And so, like, that's the kind of thing where I'm like, oh, that makes total sense. Why would I not take advantage of that?
Right. And
Why would
my agent does a really good job of that too, where she's able basically to build in her fee.
Yep.
So it really doesn't, it's not a problem for me.
Doesn't hit you or like damage
Yeah.
your bottom line because they take that little number off of it. And do you now I don't want a number. Don't tell me a number because we don't
Right.
want to
We got to
the
protect
world.
her.
But when you're doing stuff with Jennifer Nelson, is it a different fee for licensing versus editorial versus books and stuff, or is it
It's
one sort
not.
of flat? Okay. And I assume it's
And
more an artist fee.
it's kind of one of those things where it would almost be way too much housekeeping to to do it like that for every individual artist.
Yeah.
And it's also like sometimes when like sometimes I do surface design and it's a licensing fee, and then sometimes it's a buyout. And the truth is sometimes the buyouts, it's not because a company's trying to screw you. It's also on their end, as somebody who is an in-house designer, it's so much easier when I can work with a piece of art and I don't have to worry about, okay, this is a license. If I want to change Santa's boots to brown and not black or whatever, it's like you
don't have
don't
to
have to go back, and
consult.
it's a lot more time and stuff. So, sometimes for people listening, like sometimes it just has to do with like the workflow. But I do know other agents who they do something different. Like if a job's under 5,000, they take this much percentage. If it's over 5,000, they take this.
Yeah.
Now, for instance, I'm doing like a rinky-dink job almost. I have a friend who they're coming out with a Christmas album, and it's really awesome. And they wanted me to do something that's pretty manageable. So I'm like, oh, just, throw me a little bit of cash and a coffee and, I'll do it for you. And like, I'm not bothering Jennifer with that.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
a on. I mean, it's the same thing with like gallery work or those kinds of
Right.
like. There's a point where you go, this is stuff that I brought in. This is stuff they brought in. This is something that's worth their time. This is something that's not worth their time. And it really depends on the contract that you have too, of
Yeah. Yeah.
what they need to hear about and what they don't need to hear about. Not that if my agent's listening, don't worry, I'm not taking work out of your pocket of any sort. But I don't think they need to care about like commissioned paintings that I'm doing for a gallery. But
Right. Or someone's like, yeah.
there are some people that have a gallery representative or a rep that deals with that, and so they might need to, but in my case actually that's not part of it. With the variety of work that you get and the sort of challenge of having to make up your own sort of images without necessarily a brief or something sometimes, do you find like aesthetically that you want to jump around a lot, or is that something that I'm wondering more
Right.
so on the sense of like how much how do you stick to your guns, basically, I guess is the question.
I guess that's a nice thing to some degree, is that I do have leeway, because, and I don't know if surface design allows me to do this, but the nice thing is like like this summer, I just started doing a lot more watercolor work. And
Okay.
the truth is, if a company wants to use that and they're not going to be like, Lauren Lowen, it really doesn't matter if it looks considerably different.
Okay. Yeah, that makes
So,
sense. Yeah.
yeah, so sometimes it is like I'm going through this season where let me see if I can bring it up.
Yeah,
I'm
there's not like
actually,
some brand thing you have to maintain if it's an individual
right.
image, or if
And
they're going to license the whole thing out.
yeah, like, right.
What's the matter?
I don't know, I'm going to keep this vague because I can't really, it's not out in the world. But for instance, like I have a collaboration with a company, and it's clothing.
Okay.
And that'll be out next year. And I'm very excited. It's very like me and my brand and my characters. I'm not drawing, so I'm like, here's my hands. Um, but like, I have some random sketchbook stuff that it's just like I'm playing a little bit more with watercolors. I'm trying to bring it up. Oh, it's still in my duh. There, that's a lot easier, isn't it? I had to scan it, and actually, if you guys want to know, like, this is a watercolor, but I still went in there and kind of like tweaked some things,
Yeah.
just in case anyone's curious. But like, I did this, and my agent really likes it, and we think it might be something new for our editorial clients or a book cover. But it's kind of like the world of art is so big that, if someone really wanted this and said, hey, this is great for this book we're doing, I think they could care less that I'm doing this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's no like, especially if it's licensing or things of the sort, there's no like
I'll just kind of,
name attachment to it in certain instances. Like unless you're like you have some big brand release,
right.
some major department store or something of the sort. There's no need to be like, well, this must match this exact thing that you've done before, because no one's going to know it's you necessarily unless they do the research online.
Yeah.
That's the art director that, or the company that would know that kind of information. Do you find sort of there's been a flow though of like, because one of the things that I chat with students about, and especially on the kidlit side, like there's and I guess animation, all sorts of things. There is styles that come and go. There's things that like the CalArt style for animation, or even looking at Rebecca Green's work. There's a lot of people that when Rebecca Green
Oh
came,
my gosh.
try to
Yeah.
mimic Rebecca Green. And I understand it. I get it. People look at it and go like, "Oh, this is cool. I like the look of this. I want to replicate that in my work." But do you find at all that your work changes over time because of what's out there in the industry? Because this is me making a blanket statement here, and it may not be true at all, But in the world of surface design, there is very much a like what's on trend versus
Yes.
illustration,
Right.
or tech, traditional illustration approaches. And so I'm wondering sort of your thought on that side of it and how you maintain or don't maintain some level of fashionability.
Right. Yeah, we definitely have trends. Because, what I do is sort of, I'm starting my next animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very valid point. And so let me gather my thoughts a little bit. I mean, when I'm doing trends, I mean, first of all, when it comes to the stylistic thing, whether it's like, okay, everyone's drawing like Cartoon Network style or
Mm-hmm.
Steven Universe style, it is a little disheartening how much I go to the library with my kids and I'm like, that's Rebecca's green ear. Like she
Yep.
started, I've worked with her so closely now that it's like she starts drawing her hands or ears a little differently and everyone follows. And not to
Yep.
lecture anyone, but I want to say, like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Because first of all, it's like, we just want you to be, we don't need another Rebecca Green. You know what I mean? And
We
it's
need
okay.
we need
Don't
a
get me
you,
wrong.
yeah, not a Rebecca Green. We need the individual that is making. We need them as themselves versus a follower or a.
Right. Don't be a shadow of somebody else. But I mean, I want to also say this. I totally understand. And when you work, especially in our case, when we shared a studio, like somebody might play with colors or like a new digital brush. And we're like, ooh, that looks like fun. I kind of want to try that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like that happens where it's like, oh, someone's playing with a muted palette. I think I want to play with a muted palette too.
Yeah.
So, or in my industry, like, it'll be something like narwhals are really big. So sure, it's like, hey, companies are looking for narwhals. Can you do some narwhals? But like a Lauren narwhal is going to look probably very different than a Mark narwhal.
Yep.
And in some cases, like I do a horrible hedgehog, and those were really trendy for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't do that, but that's okay because foxes were really trendy and I do a good fox, so it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna do that trend but I'm gonna sit out this other one.
Well, I was gonna ask you about that in particular. Like, there is when I have students that are going through like surface design stuff and they want to make stickers and things of the sort, and we have that conversation about what's trendy and what's selling versus what the next trend is and how do you get ahead of it. And I always reference that point of like there was a point where owls were on everything,
Oh
and
yeah.
then hedgehogs and frogs, and it's there's always something down the line of like what's the next animal or what's the next cute thing that people are going to attach themselves to. Um, do you obviously, like, there's probably not a need to go through and look for that kind of stuff on a regular basis, but if you had to predict like
mm.
plain what do we want to call it, like fortune teller, uh,
What's the next big thing?
yeah, what do you think the
Oh my
next big
god.
thing is that's going to hit at some point, and maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but like maybe a year ago, and it hasn't hit the way that I thought it was. I thought there was going to be a big revival of bugs.
Oh, well, it's
Bugs are
funny
going to.
because we do see that.
You see
But
what?
you're right, maybe not in the intense way that we've seen owls take over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My husband, he just had this conversation with me last night, and he's like, you need to make the sheep slug a thing. And
What?
I don't know. And I'm like, what is that? And I'm pulling it up for you. Hold on.
I was gonna say, is this something that he just made up?
No,
It's-
but I'm like, honey, I don't think anyone's going to know what this is. Can you guys see that? I'm going to,
Give me a second. It's got the delay, so I have to wait for the delay to get past. But
has anyone seen
oh
this?
yeah, yeah.
It's a slug, and it looks kind of like a sheep or a longhorn cow wearing a bunch of cactuses. And a part of me is like, I just don't think anyone's going to know what it is.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have even known that's a slug unless you told me
Right.
it's a slug. Like, there's a
Do I,
disconnect there.
what do I think is next? Right now, like one thing, it's funny how it works because it kind of works in mysterious ways. Like for Halloween, the occult has been really big. You're seeing a lot of like moths and
Mm-hmm.
like the Illuminati almost type palm or palm readers. And so, sometimes themes and trends go that way. If I had to predict the next big thing, I have to admit, Mark, I might be leaving you empty-handed. I'm really bad at
No, it's
that.
fine. The moth thing is great because I didn't even connect the dots, but now I'm thinking back like the amount of people that have put moths in their work.
Yes.
It has sprung up. Um, and ultimately, you don't want to follow that trend anyways. You want to do the next thing. You want to be ahead of the game. And so like even by the time that you or I were to come up with like here's the next big thing, it would be done at that point. And or you're walking into a flooded market where everybody has
Right.
the
Right.
same approach or the same sort of characters, and like at that point, you're fighting an uphill battle. So
And and that's kind of something I'm curious to ask you about too, is I feel like part of maybe what I do is that I don't want to say like counter, but I do feel like there is something nice about being kind of in the wings of all that.
yes,
It might mean that there's a lot we have to sit out. But for instance, you were talking about like people copying popular artists, and especially if like Instagram, it's normal for our students to sort of want to emulate the people they respect, but that becomes a problem when everyone's trying to emulate the same five people. But it's kind of nice because like I don't have a lot of instances, pretty much none that I'm aware of. I don't have a lot of people who are trying to copy what I do. And that might mean either
yeah, that could
sometimes
be
I
good.
worry that means I suck,
Yeah,
but usually I think it means like there is something nice about it's just kind of like I'm playing by my own rules.
yeah. No,
Um,
I'm
does
of that
that make
same
sense?
I'm of that same mindset. Yeah, of I worry sometimes, like, I hear about people getting lots of book contracts and things of the sort. I'm like, well, why am I not getting the same level as them? And then I start going, oh, it's because my style is maybe a little too quirky or a little strange. But at the same time, I have to go, I also don't want to be one of, 100,000 people. I want to be my own thing. And if it means I need to sacrifice and maybe I don't take on as many jobs, but my stuff is maybe a little bit more unique or speaks more to my truth of sorts, and that's
Right.
okay. But there is that question in the back of my head of like, well, if it wasn't for aesthetic choices, would I be getting more work? And like, there's all sorts of doubt that comes with that. Um, but I also like I'm at a point where people always, I ask my students this all the time, and I sort of run aground of it too. Of I ask the question of like, who are you following? Who are you interested in?
Right.
And I admittedly don't pay attention too much to what other people are doing.
Right.
I
Right.
sort of stay the course, and my mentality has been, and this probably will ring true for you as well, um, that I'm under the assumption that at some point my time is going to come, and all of a sudden the style is going to mimic me versus me trying to mimic the style, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And so like if I just stay the course, give it another, however many, hopefully months, not years, that all of a sudden um, I don't have to do the reach. Someone else can do it instead. And so I don't worry as much about sort of watching other people. What I do look at, I don't know if this connects for you as well, is I'll look at sort of formal aesthetic shifts or little.
Mm-hmm.
I love that color palette, but that's very different than um, I'm going to mimic the way that you draw hands, and I'm going to mimic the way that
Right.
that you do your lighting or things of the sort. And so there's a bit of a disconnect in a sense of I'm not trying to do the exact same thing. Does it have elements of that? Maybe, but it's 10%. It's not 50%. It's not the big um, sort of replication that some of the students or some people try to do with their work.
Yeah, and it's hard for us too because like as educators, I don't know if you feel the pressure to be in the know. Like I do like to know,
Mm-hmm.
or you do a presentation and you're like, I can't keep showing the same, 50
Yeah.
illustrators from 2005 or whatever it was,
Yep. Yep.
So you're like, let's get some new faces. Let's see who's like doing some cool stuff. And it is a slippery slope between like, oh, that's cool to being like, oh, wait a minute.
I mean, what's funny is the thing that I've sort of been dealing with, and I maybe it's even more pronounced in my case because of being slightly older, but the or way older. You're so young. You're so hip. You're so cool. But more so that the reference points that I make for these students
Oh my gosh.
are almost so far afield that is so new to them. Even though it's old to us, it's old hat to us. When I start going like, oh, well, you guys need to go look at like Jordan Issip or Brad Holland or these people so you understand the history. And then they see that and they go, oh, that's a thing you can do. And there's a realization that they don't have to mimic today or that they can have that lineage. One of a former colleague used to say that you look at your heroes.
Oh yeah. Or right.
Yeah, and you go back to find sort of who they were influenced by. And if you can find that line, you can find that sort of the transition and the evolution of how one became the next. Well, then at that point, you kind of have a prediction model of where it might go because of the themes or the way that they approach, like the texture is getting more complex. And so how complex can it get? Let me push that edge. Or, if colors are becoming more saturated or changing as the time goes on, well, let me see if I can sort of evolve it to the next level of some sort. But I definitely have dated references for these students now. And I feel bad, but at the same time, I just can't keep up with everything they bring to me. Like they list off names the other day, just yesterday in class, they had to make me a list of 25, which I thought was like such a small number, but 25 artists they think have a unique style.
Oh.
Some people could only do like 5. And I'm like,
Hmm.
you need to look more just out there. But I don't think I knew a single name that a person, that
Right.
all of them posted.
And I would be curious how many, one of the other things I really love is when people say, it's something like half of your heroes should be dead.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
heard that one?
Yep.
And it's true. Like if you're just looking, and it ties in with what you're saying, like what are the people that I think are doing cool things? Like what are they looking at?
Yeah. What are their reference points, or who are they? Who did they try to mimic, or who did they sort of become a child of as time went on?
Mhm.
It's interesting. Like, and I want to state, and this goes, I think you'll probably agree to this one, that like there's nothing wrong with students trying to mimic.
Oh no.
They
Yeah,
need
like
to look at stuff and understand how it works and why it works and whatnot. And that does take some time and patience, and they have that freedom because there's not the legal challenge when you're a student. But I also think that just there is a point where, as an artist, you need to separate yourself, and
yes,
that
yeah.
needs to happen somewhere in that schooling or somewhere just after. But I don't want people to think like you're not allowed to copy when you're a kid or when you're a student, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we're none of us are an island. Like
No, no.
I can say I've been influenced by you and but one of the things I like to talk to my students about is what I call style soup. And
Mm-hmm.
I like to say if you threw a bunch of things in a pot, like you're making soup, and you just cooked it for 5 minutes, a bunch of random stuff in water, it would probably taste pretty bad. But if you let it cook and blend over time, then you're going to get something really interesting. And I said, style's kind of the same way where, you might be someone who loves Renaissance painters and anime and, you know, uh, something, who knows, like Rothko or something. And you think this is so random, but it's through time and all these other practices of just, showing up and doing the work that it all starts to connect and blend in really interesting ways. And I'm sure with us being kind of further in our careers, we understand that. But in school and for our students now being that same point in their education, that was kind of like a concept that was hard to grasp.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the ways that I've been dealing with it with students is, and I probably shouldn't give this away, but I'm going to, is that sort of the way I refer to it is as a column. And your column needs to be structurally sound and your style sits on that column. And if you take away too many of the things in your column that define your style, well, your style is going to collapse. And so
I like that.
So you need to, if you want to change something out, change out a little thing. Don't take away more than 50% of that column. Otherwise, it comes crashing down. And so you can add things into your aesthetic, but don't do it at a level that would so dramatically rip the foundation out from what you are making that it becomes not you anymore.
Right.
And so that idea of that you're hitting on the style soup is that same sort of thing. Like, you don't want to put so much in that it's overabundant with other people's ideas or things. So let me ask you this question then, that's sort of related or technical to that. So how do you separate yourself from, like, do you actively separate yourself from the work that you look at from other folks? Like, do you actually sit there and go like, ooh, that's really cool, I should do it? Nope, I'm not going to do that. Or is there is it just so ingrained in you now, like looking at the frog that you're making, that head and proportion, and like you do sort of quilt work, and I don't mean, for those that are listening, I don't mean quilts, but the way that you deal with like color is sort of patchwork and quilt like a lot of times in your work. Like, there's segments that show up, and I'm wondering, is that something that you have to, like, I guess that I'm asking a really stupid long-winded question, but sort of, how much do you have to engage with thought process in yours, or do you just let it come out naturally and go like, who cares?
I think it's a little bit of both. And I think sometimes it really depends on like your mindset. Like, I often talk to my brother, again, who's an artist too, and we talk about the hardest part is just getting out of first gear.
Okay.
And sometimes sometimes it's very hard for me to just sit down and draw. So I'm actually pleasantly pleased how well this is going with you. You've been a good distraction. It can be so hard to let go and play, right?
Yeah.
And kind of, that's been, I think, kind of going back to my sketchbook, like the secret of, I always did my best, really looking back, when I would just play, or when I was doing a sketch and it was just, well, I just need a sketch. This doesn't need to be perfect, but there was something about my line work and stuff.
Yeah.
So just sitting here and kind of playing, it's just like, oh, this is coming out. I do. It's funny. I was looking yesterday at my saved Instagram because I do like to save things that interest me in some way.
Okay.
And I had a lot of flowers. I was just like, man, I obviously want to draw flowers.
Yeah.
But they weren't just like normal flowers. They were kind of like wonky flowers or stylized flowers. And some of them were like jungle scenes, and some of them were just doodles on a page. But, I was kind of really looking at that and being like, what does this say I want to do?
So let me ask you another question here. And this
Sure.
is sort of, when you talk about, like, when you say what kind of flowers you want to draw, I have realized that I don't like to draw flowers unless they're like really thick. Like, I like a thick flower, for whatever that, however you want to interpret that word. But I don't reference. I think, or if I reference something, like if I have to look up, someone goes like, oh, this piece needs to have a lotus flower in it, and I don't know exactly what a lotus flower looks like, I do one of two things. One is I make it up and just hope for the best. Or two, I look at it, but only for like 5 seconds.
Right.
And then I turn off that reference point and go, okay, now I'm going to do what I think it looks like or
Right, right.
whatever. And I'm wondering, like, with your aesthetic too, you're probably in the same boat of some sort of, like, I imagine you did not pull up a picture of a frog to draw the frog today.
Not today, but once upon a time, yes. And it was a project where actually, like there was a project I had early on in my career where I had to do like a children's like how to draw kawaii style.
Okay.
And it was everything from animals and people to like, let's draw a cute calculator. So I wasn't looking up stuff to copy, obviously, but it was the idea of like, okay, if I look up 10 artists who have done cute kawaii style frogs, like first of all, there was that, the like what makes something kawaii,
Yeah.
because that was part of the job. But then also it's like, let me draw a frog and then understand what I'm dealing with, kind of like once again, like the rules of a frog. This is what a
Yeah.
frog looks like. And then there's that next level of like, if we boil down the essence of what makes a frog, what is that? So yeah, it's like, okay, flippers and the frog, there probably was a lot of drawings that were like, well, what are the different ways we can draw a frog? Well, what if we have the bumps, and the mouth up here? But I probably had a version where it was more like this, and those little like haunches. So after you understand what a frog looks like, because you've drawn it so many dang times, then you can kind of start to think about like like what is the icon of frog?
Yeah. Yeah. What are the
Yeah.
symbols or the
Yes.
semiosis or semiotics? There we go. The semiotics of a frog, and how they come into play. Yes, you have to learn by looking sort of initially.
Yeah, and you can
Some of
decide
those
like
things,
how
but
much of that real frog you want to play into your
yeah,
design
yeah.
or how stylized it is.
I it's one of those ones too where I think like if I look too hard at it, I will lean too heavy into it, and then it loses my
The magic.
yeah, yeah, it loses some of the magic. Like this is gonna be a wolf, but a wolf doesn't look like this of any sort. And I don't know exactly. Like I've never been able to draw a tiger. I've been able to draw a tiger light, or tiger adjacent, but never been able to draw an actual tiger. Or there's certain animals that are like that, where it's like I don't quite understand the structure of the head. But I also know at this point I don't know if I want to go and learn it, because then it won't be connected to or representative of what I do now,
I
or
exactly
the
understand.
approach. Like
Yeah.
it ventures too far into some other territory. Or you mentioned the idea of like I will reference if I need, like you mentioned the calculator. Like I could draw a calculator without question, but would all the buttons be in the right spot?
No.
And would I remember all the buttons that are on a calculator? Probably not. My calculator would have like 1 through 0, or 1 through 9 and then 0, and maybe a plus, a minus, a divide, and multiply, and that's it. Like I'm not going outside of that of any sort.
Well, I mean, even this boombox I'm drawing, like I've drawn a boombox before and I know I've looked at them, but I am trying to make a sort of like approximation of
Yeah.
boombox versus like there's probably some buttons here and like I'm changing that because it looks too much like a robot face, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but you can't be held accountable in the end. Like like when I did my dinosaur book, I was very worried, and it hasn't really hit in the same way, but I know that kids, that are dinosaur freaks,
Right.
and I use that term kindly, but they are dinosaur freaks, they'll be like, that's not a plateosaurus, that's a such and such, you drew it wrong. Like in certain
Idiot.
instances, yeah, dummy, you need to go home and study more. I there's certain instances like that where you need to be a little bit more mindful, but for the most part, like as long as it looks like a dinosaur, like ish, or again adjacent, then like that's kind of all that they're going to get out of me as a client, the art director.
Right.
They're not coming to me going, hey, I want you to draw a graphing calculator in this piece, and it needs to be 100% accurate. It needs to have the right lighting, and no, they're going to come to me and go like, draw some technology, and I go, I need a box that has some buttons on it. Done.
Yeah.
And call it a day. What the book that I'm working on right now, which is they they had this, I forget what the term is they used, but they had this term, and I was like, what is this thing that this, like, some object this character was throwing overboard? And I'm like, what is this thing? I don't think I've ever heard of this. And I looked it up. And I'm like, I can't even find it. And I wrote to the publisher, the editor, and said, like, what is this? What am I supposed to do with this? And basically, it's a word that the author made up.
Oh.
Like, do whatever you want with it.
Oh, that's
I was
great.
like, oh, that's cool. But I had gone, like, my brain went into this mode of like, okay, I need to find this thing. Otherwise, I'm going to draw it wrong. And once there, I'm like, I don't even know what it is. It's a box with some buttons on it and maybe a little antenna, and I call it a day. But I needed that clearance from them to say, like, you don't have to reference. It can be whatever you want it to be, and done.
Right.
Do you well, here's another sort of tangential question, but with the teaching that you do you find that the students try to mimic you at all, or do you feel like, I have students, I'll go and I'll be like, let me sketch this out for you real quick, what I'm thinking, and then I sketch it out and they go, well, I can't use that because you drew it.
We're like, well,
It's
yeah.
yours. And it's like, I know, but I'm also not going to do an illustration in my career that has, a giant lizard doing, whatever it may be. Like, it's always something that is not my aesthetic. It's their stuff, and I'm just helping them compose, or I'm helping them do something with it. But I'm wondering, do you get that in your sort of teaching because of, sitting there and helping students through the process of understanding, like, visually what they can get out of there?
No, that's interesting. I've never had anything quite like that. In fact, usually, I mean, I don't know if you use Procreate.
I do, yeah, for sketching.
Okay, yeah. What's actually been really great is, like, sometimes they'll email me something and I'll quickly be like, instead of a paragraph of like, well, if you do this and do this, and it's like, here, let me give you an example. And I've just quickly like, and
Yep.
the quick answer is no, I never have. I have a lot of students who have been very, I would say, inspired and curious when I don't know if you ever do this, where you just like dump a bunch of your projects on a table.
Yep. Just did it yesterday.
All right. Yeah. And it's kind of this like, whoa, I didn't know you could do this. So they do they're like, teach me more. How do when they realize that a lot of stuff, when you've just realized that the world sort of opened up, I've definitely had students follow me into a very playful, decorative world of art licensing and surface design. But that being said, they're still doing it very much in their own way.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, so-and-so obviously is drawing, eyes on their characters the way I am, or like the way I'm doing this frog with like, no one's trying to capture that wonkiness, if that makes sense.
Yeah. They're not trying to mimic you. They're just trying to play in the same sandbox.
Right. They're very much like, oh, get me in on this. This looks like fun. And I think that's probably the most, I see more of that.
Okay.
Have you ever had a student try to emulate your style? I'm really curious because you do have such a unique.
I don't know as I've had, maybe in the past.
Okay.
I don't think the students look at my style now and go like, "Ooh, I want to do that."
Okay.
I don't think that's their cup of tea. That they're all about like Rebecca Sugar or any of those people that are their sort of generational reference points. I think what I end up with more is like students who try to, like, when I do a sketch for them of something that's their world, like, oh, you want to do this cool like fantasy character, and I'll draw something. That's when they start to go like, oh, I can make a costume that goes like that. I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, but it's generally not my aesthetic. It's my sketch
Right.
of their aesthetic that they try to
Yes,
emulate more so. Um,
that makes
but
sense.
to be honest, I don't do a lot of sketching anymore for students because most of the stuff I'm doing is project management. And so there's very little um, like let me draw out, like I'm not teaching illustration 2 or any of those kind of like fundamental courses. I'm generally teaching like senior thesis. So they've all kind of established what they want,
Yeah,
or hopefully by that point.
right.
You
That
know,
makes sense.
cross your fingers that they have. Uh, but I, um, you know, thinking of that sort of wonkiness and that challenge, I also find that students just in general, like, aren't attracted to that as much as the older audience is, or like, you know, people of our generation.
I totally
Like,
hear you on that.
I look at a book and I'm like, oh, I want it to look a little crude or look a little sort of naive or art brute and whatnot. And I think that's just because that's the kind of stuff that I grew up with. And they look at it and go, ugh, you like that? Like,
Right, 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 right.
well, that's
Yes.
good illustration, or that's not illustration in general. Sometimes you get that. And so, um, yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. Let's put it that way.
It is. And it's interesting because, you know, when I went to school, I started in 2003. It's like we had blogs, but that was probably, you know, we didn't have Instagram. So you had art books and you had blog, and I remember like people submitting their work to like Spectrum, which was a big like competition, and still is. But you
No,
know, we
it's
didn't
not.
have
Spectrum's
what?
gone.
Oh, is Spectrum gone?
Yeah, Spectrum's
Oh,
gone.
okay. Well,
I
never
know.
mind then.
I know. I thought that it was still around, and I mentioned it to Corinne, and she's like, "No, they folded essentially."
They packed
Uh,
up.
yep. I think it
Um,
may have been the pandemic, but I think
oh,
there was some infighting. I think that really.
oh my goodness,
So
drama.
yeah,
Um, okay. Well, forget that.
yeah.
But
Not to ruin your point, but
no,
uh,
no, no. But like now again, like these students come in and they already have these, you know, people that it's not just their classmates and blogs anymore. It's again, like social media and TikTok and Instagram and people who have, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers, and this sort of validation, um, online that is like ethereal at best, because it's so hard to look at someone that you like their art and be like, I don't know what they do, but they're being awesome. But at the same time, for all you know, they've been in the industry for 20 years.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's such a weird
It's a weird
thing now.
experiment. And the other challenge that I have with it, and this is I stressed to the students the other day in a form they had to fill out, is like, I want to know who you're looking at, but I also need to know, are they actually getting work?
Yes, thank you.
And the most of them came back saying yes. And I have to go back and address it with them, because what they define as work and what I define as work are two different things.
Right. It's like being hired to do a $20, you know, commission is not
Yes. It's
work.
not the same as a, $20,000 licensing agreement or
Yes.
something.
Not to like, you know,
Yeah, not to
poo-poo
fulfill.
that, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's like for the sake of you actually paying your bills, and here's the thing. It's like, and if they're not, let's talk about how you could possibly do something and get work. Yeah.
yeah. I
But
so I,
yeah.
I had a student years ago that came to us and said, like, well, why don't you talk about the con circuit and like how you can make money doing that? And I said that, well, let's look at the numbers. And this is me being a parent. I told them,
Right.
like, let's look at those numbers and what your return on investment for doing something like that is, or what you have to do in order to get a return on investment for something like that,
Uh-huh.
versus, an editorial gig, or, if you're spending $400 for a table and you make $600 for the weekend, you make a $200 profit. That might buy some groceries, but you could also spend an hour or two, well, probably more than that, probably like 5 hours doing a editorial gig that gets you, thousands of dollars. And is it worth your time and effort to put into those kinds of things? And I'm not saying that it's a no, like, don't ever do that, but
Don't ever do that. Yeah.
me as a parent goes, okay, what's the return on investment on doing some of those things? And I want the student to get those big contracts, not little dinky contracts and, mom and pop shop illustration versus like getting something like, Time Magazine. Well, I want you to get Time Magazine because it's going to pay better and get you more jobs in the future. And it, I think, can be a little dangerous in the sense of students go, well, you're putting down those other things, but I think it's more so just a parent, like, I want you to survive. I want you to be happy and be able to pay your bills at the end of the month. And if you can't do that, then, we have a challenge.
Well, and I think too, like in that, like we have a alum who's been in the business for a while, and she does do a lot of cons and markets. She's done very well independently publishing puzzles, and they're kind of in this horror genre. So she's at everything from like horror cons to Holly Carden, shout
Yeah.
out. She's made a very good business, but she doesn't just show up. Oh, she travels. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a worldwide schedule. It's a whole
Yes.
thing.
That's the
She's
difference.
online, she's offline, and it's
That's
there's a whole thing to it. And that's not like just what she's doing. Or even like Joe Quinones, who it's like, yeah, he goes to cons, but he's doing DC covers since forever.
Yeah, the thing that I always tell the students, and I think this goes for just any illustration in general, is it can't be something that's just, I'm going to do it every once in a while. It has to be a career. And so those people that want to do cons or want to do, a circuit that is like that, it can't be just, I'm going to show up on, a rare weekend in my local town.
Right.
I'm going to travel to San Francisco because there's this one. And then the next weekend I'm going out to this because there's this one. And it's this sort of constant moving to keep up with and to get yourself seen by a whole new crowd every single time. And you can totally make a living doing it. There's plenty of people that do, but it's not just in passing.
Yeah, it's not as simple as that.
Yeah. Not that, again, I feel like we're we're speaking the same language. We know the same language, and we know the same sort of sentiment of how things work in the various industries, but also I want people to understand that we're not putting down any one thing or another, but want people to understand sort of the battles they walk into.
Yes.
And
the
that
complexity, shall we say.
Yeah, it's not as simple as just saying I want to work in this industry and done. It's okay, you need to know how the industry works and how to actually be effective in it for that to really pay off in the end. So it is something that I deal with on a regular basis, some of those questions, and I'm sure you do too.
All the time. It's constant reinvention, basically. Assessment and assessment. I'm just going to go with that.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about sort of your process in the sense of, like, I know that style and all that stuff we talked about, but I'm always hesitant. I don't particularly like the word style, but
Right, me neither.
yeah, but we've talked about your aesthetic. We've talked about your voice.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about sort of how you manage, because when I look at that, I start to go, okay, well, not only do you have a voice and an approach that is and you, but also there's a speed factor. There's a quality factor and all those things that need to come into play. And I'm wondering about sort of your practice itself, in the sense of, are you constantly working? Are you do you give yourself free time? Do you how much do you give for play? How much time do you give for production, especially when you're on your own clock, essentially, as a licensee person?
Right. Well, am and am not, because there are some agents and stuff too who, and they do kind of have requirements or quota or goals.
Is? I don't know.
Well, yeah, not always. I mean, obviously, whoops, did that wrong there. There is, I mean, I know, not my agent, but I know some agents who are like, look, this is actually a couple who are like, this is, especially in our licensing and service design, it's like, there are commissions, but sometimes it's like, we can't sell you unless you're making new work.
Yeah.
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 So,
You got to be adding constantly to sort of
right. It's like
what
we
you do.
send a gallery or something, and the clients come back and they say, they come back 3 months later and they're like, well, okay, we saw their Christmas work. What do they have now? And it's like, oh, so, it's kind of like, help me, help you kind of thing with
Yeah.
an agent. I, I think I'm still figuring that out, especially now that I've accepted a full-time professor job. The kids are 5 and 7, and that's also a moving target because they are at an age where they see this and they're like, ooh, that looks like a fun toy.
Yeah.
So let me show you, like, I guarantee this is Lydia right
Oh, some
here.
drawings on there.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Lydia actually chewed my Apple Pencil. I mean, there's also the very real fear of like they are going to delete something that they are not supposed to. Like
Yep.
please don't,
Yeah.
please don't delete my spread or something. So I can't just sit down. Like I feel like your son's probably old enough that if you just sat down and worked, he would just he
He
would
can
just
survive on his
ignore
own.
you or
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yes, he does.
Or that. Well, but he wouldn't be like, oh my God, what's that? I want to play with it. Like boundaries. Um, and so with Andrew, who's 7, I'm starting to get there where there's moments where it's like, okay, they seem to be occupied. Maybe I will try to do this thing for 30 minutes or something.
Yeah.
But that being said, I can't just like go off for 2 hours and work yet, and I'm too tired by the time they're in bed. I'm gonna try to make this dog look like Coolio, but let's see if it actually works.
No, I get
um,
like the timing. I mean, obviously, like it doesn't completely go away.
yeah,
That like, oh, there's always something else that you got to do in the house or whatever it may be. But um, there's definitely the independence at this point is lovely. To not have to worry as much about sort of are they going to get into the knife drawer.
right.
Or I will say one of the things that has been a benefit for us, and I know it's probably a no-no in some sense, but we have multiple iPads in the house now, and they have different designations of whose they are at this point.
Yeah,
Our son doesn't have his own personal iPad, but I have one that is like, this is mine. You're not allowed to use mine.
right. This is not a communal
Yeah,
device.
yeah. This is for me, and you can, if you need to go look something up, you can use this other one. And that has helped with that because I had that same fear of just like the what's going to happen to my work, or what the iPad's going to get dropped, and then all of a sudden my work is going to get ruined.
Oh my gosh.
So, I will advocate for the idea of having multiple devices so you can designate who gets what, but not at that age,
Well,
like not at like the age that your kids are.
right. I was
That's a
gonna say
dangerous slope there.
we actually do have that set up, but that still
Oh,
doesn't stop someone
oh,
from sitting
really?
on my
Oh,
lap and being like, "What you doing?"
oh no.
um, but
Well, then I might suggest handcuffs.
heck, right. Okay, does your door lock? No, but I think it's also, I mean, not to get into like traditional gender roles, but I think at the end of the day, like I'm still mom.
Yeah.
And so, I've talked to a lot of parents where even when both parents are working, there's just certain things that, it's just like, that's just the way it is. Or maybe that's the pressure I put on myself even. To some degree, but so I'm still trying to figure that out. I mean, I need to, as like when you're okay, everyone, when you're a full-time teacher, it's not just you teach more. You're advising students. There's a
Mhm.
bunch of meetings that you didn't have to be a part of, and I love all of it. But it means that there's so much more to my day now than just show
Yep.
up and teach. Um,
You get about 50 emails a day from.
yeah, luckily not that bad, but it'll probably get to that point as I get more settled in. So there's a lot that I do outside of class, and then there's obviously like the preparing for class. So yeah, it's like I'm trying to find out the new normal as far as like when do I sit down and work on my stuff? And sometimes that means there's this extra pressure too, like, okay, I have this 2 hours.
Mhm.
What's gonna give me the best return of time? Like, do I work on a Christmas card or okay, Jennifer said the clients are looking at octopuses. Do I do octopuses? Like there's almost this kind of like paralysis analysis that can happen. Um,
Wait a
so,
second. Wait a second. Is the thing about octopuses real?
or no, I'm not. Maybe a hip hop. I think that's just because
Yeah.
I did that.
I'm just like,
Wouldn't
oh,
it
do
be
I need to draw
nice?
octopuses now?
Do I need
Yeah.
to roll
Find
octopus?
out. You finally
Um,
caved and told us what the next thing is. You were keeping it secret the whole time.
right, right. Um, but um, but yeah, yeah. I think there is just um, I'm still figuring it out. And as the kids grow up, as they're from babies to small kids, and as I transitioned to like full time, but trying to make this. I mean, for instance, like one thing that happened was this year, I turned down a children's book because I was just like, I don't know what my schedule is going to be if I get this job. I'm not taking any major commissions because I do know I just will not have time. That was something I did. So I have had to be okay with myself, kind of. And my agent has been totally supportive and cool. But this idea of, I'm not going to take chew off more than I can realistically handle. So I
Yep.
am doing more of my own stuff for the purpose of art licensing, which means I do have to pay a little bit more attention to trends probably, if that's going to be my focus. But yeah, yeah, like I said, the children's book I turned down because I just knew it was gonna be too much, and that's just kind of the somewhat of the reality of where I am right now, what season I'm in as I transition to doing teaching full time and not just one class a semester.
Yeah. Sort of life work balance has to adjust accordingly. I mean,
And
that's
the laws of physics and time. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, it's I've been doing the full time thing longer, but effectively it's the same speech of like, and I don't know as it's a full time thing as much as it is, and bear with this argument, but that just as you get older in life, you have different responsibilities that get put on you, and
Right,
so as a parent, you have to deal with a sick child and things that like when you were first starting out in your career, that was not even a concern. That was
right.
only you were a concern as far as sickness or as the day-to-day operation. And so your priority shift, you have to adapt and get a better understanding of sort of how you how much you can tackle in a given
Right.
time. At a certain point, you make priorities, and so like right now, the teaching. Some students could look at me and they're like, "Well, you know, you have this big full time career," and it's like, "No, I don't really. Like, I teach, and that brings in a good portion of the money." And so, but it also means that I'm not as dependent on what the market is doing, or I'm not as
Very
dependent
true.
on my safety net is a little bit fuller because of this this avenue that I have to be able to play in. But it doesn't mean that uh, like I'm not the person who's getting job after job after job, but I'm also the person that doesn't need to, and that's okay because life changes and you move towards
Right, right. And you
having
probably couldn't be that person even if you
no
wanted to.
no.
You have limits.
I mean, I've been trying to get in the studio this week. Outside of Gavin Doodle, I don't think I'll get into the studio until tomorrow afternoon, max. And
Yeah.
I've been trying since Monday to like find, okay, when am I going to get in the studio? And it's just meetings, teaching, life stuff. Like I was like, oh, tomorrow I'll get in there early, but my son has a school thing I had to go to and like deal with and whatnot. And so it's a constant battle to stay on top of it and be um, uh, what's the word I want to look for? Like I don't know. Um, responsible.
Right. And just, and like you don't want to do everything at like 70%. You know,
No.
you kind of want to make sure if you're a teacher, you're a good teacher and, you know, so forth. And so I think before the full-time job, I kind of had that feeling where it's like, I feel like I'm like just doing okay in so many areas of my life where it's like I'm just doing okay at freelance art and just doing okay as a teacher because I wasn't completely in or out of anything.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting to see how having the primacy of teaching, I'm still doing the freelance, but it's given me almost kind of like a good mental space to sort of
Yep.
exhale and
Yeah.
not put pressure on like everything I make has to be the most amazing thing.
Mhm.
And that probably means I'm making better art because of that.
That's why I like it. Like if I were making stuff like this in a normal sort of career setting, I don't know if it would fly in the same way. I don't know if I'd be making the same type of artwork because I'd be so
Right, exactly.
about the next job. And so, like, yeah, I may not get every contract that everybody else is getting. I have to remind myself that when I hear like, oh, someone's booked up for the next 5 years with gigs. It's like, well, it's okay if I'm not, because next week I still have a job. And I was talking to in a meeting the other day about the stigma in art school around career and how when students have day jobs or they have something that's
Oh,
art related, that they it can be seen as a negative. Like I didn't fulfill the dream that I had, and therefore I'm going to be judged on that. And I'm just getting like,
yes.
oh, like day jobs are fine. Like I don't. Day jobs are a-okay. I have a day job as a teacher. I have a day job, and that's absolutely okay.
Well, it's very romanticized, right?
Yeah.
Very romanticized. Um, yeah, no, I completely agree. Our curriculum is also very heavy on the design side.
Okay.
So I think students are a little bit more open to the idea that, you know, it's like you know, you might have both these skills, but yeah, you might be working at a design firm and maybe doing some freelance and it might stay that way forever, or you might decide to go total free. Like, yeah, it's like you don't exactly know. Can I ask you kind of a personal question before I forget?
Yeah.
Along that lines, like I was just talking about the pressure of me being mom, you know, kind of that role. And you know, when I was just freelance, you know, I was freelance, and my husband had kind of the full time job. Um, but it felt like there was a lot of like mom guilt and just sort of guilt in my case of like I'm going to spend 2 hours working on my freelance for art licensing, but I really should, you know, but I'm ignoring the laundry or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. And I'm curious too if you would
You don't
feel
want
the
to see our
pressure,
laundry.
like let's say, huh?
So you don't want to see our laundry pile. Yeah.
Right. But like if you weren't teaching, if you were 100% freelance, would there be added pressure for you as the patriarch of your family, the father figure, to also just like bring home the bacon? Like, would you feel the pressure of that you know role that society has put on you?
Yeah, I mean, we have an interesting dynamic in this house where like I'm the person who does a lot of the cooking, and I'm the person who does a lot of the like chores. I mean, I hope that my wife is okay with it, but she's sort of semi-ambulatory at times. I needs a wheelchair periodically and can't do some physical activities, so I end up picking up some things that would be, you know, historically seen as the mother's role
Ah,
in certain
okay.
situations. And so
Yeah.
there's the pressure of that, but some of it I enjoy. Like I enjoy cooking. Like, you know, my wife's upstairs listening. I don't need my wife to cook me meals. I've seen how she cooks. Um, she just said, "How dare you?" from upstairs. Um, but no, it's. Um, I think there is a weird sort of, especially as a freelance person or someone who has an irregular schedule, there is a challenge that comes into that, wherein like, oh, you have time to do this, you have time to do these other things, but then you're like, well, how do I get down in studio? How do I become, you know, how do I take my work to the next level if you're constantly sort of trying to keep up with day-to-day operations, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
And so, to me, the challenge that I sort of have in a lot of it is how to, I mean, I guess the balance, I don't want to say work-life balance, but it's more so like responsibility balance becomes a real challenge of when,
Yeah.
where can I take sacrifices and make sacrifices. And I think one of the things, and I don't know if this speaks to you right now, but we've gotten a little bit better on this end. I used to work heavily at night because my son's bedtime, like you're basically
Right.
with your kid forever, or your kids, and then finally they go to bed, and then it's like, oh, I have time for me, and it ended up being 10 o'clock at night, or
Yes.
3 in the morning, or whatever it is, and then you start to burn out because of it. And I have set some limits as far as like I'm only working these kind of hours for the most part. Like night times, I've been trying to not work at night if I can, if feasible. Now, obviously, like there may be a deadline where stuff has to happen.
Right. You're just like
But
in get it
I'm
done mode.
I'm not going to spend my free time at night in the studio if I can help it. And so it means that, maybe I don't get in the studio as much as I once did, or maybe I'm not like sketching my sketchbook in the same way that I did at a certain point in my life. But at the same time, I also like, because of the stability of teaching, I don't necessarily need to be at all times. And so to me, that's been sort of helpful of not just on the career wise, but like it gives me a little bit more freedom and a little bit more relaxation around some of those like responsibilities, where if I do need to go run an errand, or I do need to, work on something like mow the lawn or whatever it is, it's not butting up against my career will suffer because of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if
And
I answered your question, to be honest. I don't know.
no. I think we're talking about like the same thing, and I think that's some of the. Yeah, for me, there's it's also been alleviated by that, and like I said, now that I'm not putting so much pressure on my freelance, I think it's actually going to get better, because I think I will go to that place of play where I used to go as a college student, when I was just like, well, I'm just sketching for an assignment, and not this sort of like, oh God, I'm gonna. Yeah, I think that's. I mean, like honestly, it's been really nice, like being here and being like, cool. I did it. It's
Yeah.
been very therapeutic.
This is, I mean, to me, these Gab and Doodles, and I imagine like you have the podcast, which I imagine is somewhat this, but like it's an escape, and
Oh yeah,
it's a moment that is scheduled in my life, but
scheduled
it's
escape.
not, but it is not a schedule that is a bad schedule. It's not like, oh, I got to go to a meeting today.
Yeah,
It's I scheduled playtime in a way.
right.
So like, that idea of now I mean, obviously there's times where like I get into these Gab and Doodles and I am sort of like, oh man, I'd rather be just like resting right now. I had a really long day or something of the sort.
Sure.
But for the most part, at the end of it, I'm like, oh, that was so good. Like I had
Right.
such a
Like
good
even
time.
it's kind of like when you have a workout too, and you're like, I really don't want to do this, but afterwards you're
Yes.
like, oh, I really needed that.
Oh, I got to do that today, right after this. Once I'm done with it, I gotta hop in the car because I normally do it in the morning. I have a personal trainer right now to keep me
Oh,
on track. Oh yeah. I'm official. No, and it's normally in the morning, but because we scheduled this for the morning, I scheduled that for the afternoon.
gotcha.
But
Thank you.
it is not a problem. That's easily done. I would make that leap no matter what. But that idea of like, I've noticed, because the gym is relatively new to me, again, put it that way. And like you walk out and you're like, oh, that was good. I'm amped up now.
Right.
It is that like, ugh. Same thing with the studio. I'm gonna be blunt for everybody that's out there. Would I rather be like sleeping in? Probably. Would I rather be goofing off and doing other things? Probably. But it is a job. And I think that's what
Right.
that I have told students, and I imagine, it's in the same vein for you. It is a job. There is no like beauty of every part of what I do.
Yes.
It
And
is,
there's gonna be times you have a deadline and
yes.
you have to work, or else you can't contact the art director and be like, I'm just not feeling it today.
Yep. Yep. And so like, or there's times where I've taken jobs that like it's the paycheck makes it worth it. And
Right.
it's not things that I would normally do, or that was more early on in a career. But I think that the like you mentioned the romanticized version at one point earlier today. It's not all romantic. It
Yeah.
can be really challenging at times. And so to me, it's getting in the studio to play probably isn't as heavy of a thing as it once was, or when I was in college. Like when I talked to the students the other day, I asked a couple of them like, well, what do you do for a hobby? What do you do outside of art? And they just stare at me.
Right. They're like, we don't know how to answer that.
Yeah. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like you don't have any hobbies? And they're like, well, I just do art. And I'm like, oh, that's not my hobby anymore. That's
Yeah.
not like my hobby is like, you know, playing games or reading the news or
Or even
whatever.
like you said, like cooking. You're like, I
Yeah,
like cooking. Yeah.
yeah, and so it's priority shift. Um, yeah, we're this is every time, and in fact, the class that I'm teaching right now, they said this to me on the first day that I'm becoming more of a therapist
Oh
as,
yeah.
as time goes on. I think it's true of teachers. Like, oftentimes you're putting out fires for students uh, on a regular basis, but like talking life is so much fun to me about like how we actually operate and who we are as people and all those kinds of things are so fun. Um, the so I want to go back a little bit. I know you have limited time, so I want to make sure.
Yeah, no, we're doing good. I mean, I gave myself more than ample time. So I've been keeping track of the clock. Like we're not in danger or anything.
Okay, good. Um, just that idea of shoot, I just lost where I was going. I don't know. I
Oh
was talking
no.
life and whatnot, but I want to go back a little bit to the sort of art side of things, and specifically your art, and talk about sort of the future
Yeah.
and
Ooh.
sort of what that means for you as far as like, are there things that um, goals or elements that you look at and go like, oh, this is what I want to do 10 years from now, or
Mm.
a project that I'd really like to work on, or those kinds of odds and ends. I during interviews for positions at school, I asked two really dumb questions. One of them is what makes you so special, which is sort of a mean, pointed question to see how they react. And
I
I've gotten
love it.
everything from like, well, because of this thing, to someone saying I'm not special. I,
Ah.
which is, and it's not. I'm not judging them on it. I just like to see how they think.
Right. Some is
But the other question is, and this one sort of relates to my initial question here, is if you had no responsibilities, you didn't have to worry about mortgage, you didn't have to worry about
right. For you won the lottery kind of thing.
yeah, kind of thing. What would you do? What would be the thing that you'd want to do? Like, is there a project or something that would be your baby that you've been waiting to try?
Well, it's funny because I've been kind of answering this for people, but the truth is, when it comes to that question, like if you had $1 million, what would you do? I'd be teaching. Um, so I know that's not what you're asking, and I'll
No.
veer to that, but I really do. Um, ever since I was 23 and got hired, and I've continued to teach. I tell people it's like I would just teach more and not worry about my bills and have probably a much better wardrobe. But it's like I enjoy teaching. And now, whether that means like now, I'm sure you've noticed there's like, come to this Italian villa and we're gonna do like an 8-day course and eat
Yep.
like gourmet food. Would it be like that? I don't know, but it's like I really do enjoy being with the students. So I mean, the idea that I'm here is very great. So I'll just say that for the record. But I think as
Got
far as that
hired.
goes, the clothing line that I just am working on,
Yeah.
um, that has been one of those things where it's like, yes, like that's what I've always hoped for. Um, that's like amazing to see, not just something printed on a journal or a greeting card, but something dimensional, something that's functional in a way, and to have my name plastered all over it. That is definitely like one of those dream jobs.
This is going back to fashion again.
Like, you know what it is, but
Yeah,
with
you're
like a lot more crazy animals.
a roundabout way, but you got
Right.
yeah. You
Um,
don't have to make the fashion. You
right.
just yeah.
My life is a series of loopholes, I think.
Yeah.
But I think I would love more and more to do more dimensional things. Somebody was my friend David. Hi, if you're out there. We were talking and we were kind of asking each other this question of like, what is something you've always wanted to do and you haven't been able to? And I said, as much as I appreciate having my stuff printed flat, hold on. You know, like I actually have some samples right now, but you know, like as cool as it is to get all these samples of my cards for like Trader Joe's and other companies, it's really neat when I get a product and it's like a backpack or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is just such like this cool feeling that it's really hard to describe. Um, uh, so you know, that's something, and I think I would like to get to a point where maybe it's even more so. I do joke to people I want to have a gallery show, and it's just called Big Dumb Doodles, um, where it's just very large canvases with characters like these on it. But to kind of get to a place where I'm really just, I don't want to say on autopilot, but I'm just in the zone doing something like that. And then a company says, we'd really like to use that and reproduce it as wall canvas, or like we'd love to use that for our kids line or something, and have it be kind of seamless. I think that's what it is, like to get to that apex where it's like it's so woven together. And I feel like in a way like it's kind of there. Maybe for me it's more of getting, like I'd love to get to that place, and I'm hoping I can do that now with where I am professionally, where it's like whatever mind games or walls I'm putting up mentally, I'm at a place where I can really start to tear those down so that, you know, I can see that come to fruition.
Do you? I mean, I love the sentiment. I love the like the idea of, it's going back to the original question of the sort of what would you do and teaching and sort of the answer, and I'm trying to paraphrase in some ways,
Yeah.
getting back to sort of you as a person, as a core um, value of like doing things that are not you trying to force or
Right.
trying to become something other than who you are. And I think that is like deeply valued, I think, in my life at this point. And the way that I approach art making or the way I approach teaching is, I don't want to prescribe. I don't want to, even the class I'm teaching right now, I have a syllabus, I have no assignments. And I mentioned it to Corinne. I was like, I don't have any assignments. She's like, because she's technically my coordinator, even though I'm the chair. She
Oh, okay.
program. She runs the program that I'm in charge of. Let's put it that
That's
way.
awesome. She
And
keeps
so,
you in line. Yeah, she keeps
yes,
you organized.
she says I'm her boss, but she's my boss, and it's like, yeah.
I want to
Um.
see what you're making. This
Uh.
is amazing.
So, but that idea of I don't have any assignments because I realized I don't want to be prescribed the same thing as everybody else, and nor do I want to do that to a student.
Hmm.
If they have a problem, I don't want to walk into the classroom and go, well, everybody must do the exact same thing because we all have the same concern. That doesn't make
Right.
sense to me. And so I told the students on day one, we are going to develop this class based on what you need, not on what I think you need. And so we're going to have a conversation. We're going to talk about it,
Ooh.
move accordingly. And students seemed pretty receptive to that. and it is a challenge because like I really don't have assignments. I have to like come up with them on the spot. Like, here's what we need to do today because of what I saw yesterday or because of
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
whatever it may be. And so there's a little bit of a challenge to it, but it's also, I think, kind of rewarding because I'm treating them as individuals in a way, just like I would like to be treated. And
Yeah.
so thinking back to that idea of sort of where do you want to be when you grow up kind of situation, it's like, well, I want to be where I need to be, not where someone tells me to be kind of situation or that sort of approach.
That's true.
And so that mentality, I think, is a great mindset. I have not looked at, are there questions at all from anybody this week? I'm really bad with that.
I just see Ask Us Anything in Star Trek, so
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think so.
So yeah, tell me. Let's jump onto the Star Trek thing for a second, because my wife and I are big Trek fans, and I'm assuming you're Next Generation primarily.
Yes, Next Generation is what I grew up with, and then in my 20s, I actually started watching the new. Well, it's not the new anymore, but you know the more recent Battlestar Galactica remake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I watched that after I graduated in my mid to older 20s because it was somebody was involved. The showrunner was started on Deep Space Nine and thought Deep Space Nine was amazing, even though it's very different. So yeah, those are kind of my two loves. And then because of the podcast, Larissa, my co-host, is much more educated on the newer ones. And you know, I've definitely, for the sake of the podcast, have looked into here and there, but yeah. I don't have time for like anything.
So what I want to hear from you is sort of your, if you're a Next Generation, what is the fave episode? I assume you've seen
fave episode. Oh my gosh.
At this point, and there's no like.
Yes, many times.
Yeah. But is there a favorite episode that you go, or a certain type of episode that you're like we can't stand Alexander.
Right.
Yes. He is a pain in the ass. But there are certain episodes like Riker being Riker, let's put it that way.
Sitting in that chair.
Yeah. Or we just watched one season 5 called The Perfect Mate.
Oh yeah, with
Famke Jensen,
Jean Grey, yeah.
Yeah. And
we did a whole episode on that, yeah.
And we sit there and we crack jokes all the time about like Riker being all pervy, you know, those kinds of odds and ends. But I'm wondering, you must have some like deeper knowledge probably than what we do at this point. And I would love to know, what's your favorite character? All those fun. Unless you want to save that and people just need to listen to the podcast.
No. The podcast is starting to show its age, but okay. Well, it's so okay. Favorite episode is Iborg. With you.
What season is that? You know?
That's gonna be, later.
Okay.
Like season 5, season 6. It's the one where Geordi befriends a Borg that they rescue.
Oh, that's season 5. That's coming up. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that hands down is probably my favorite episode. And then I have some close favorites. I'm really a big fan of one with Lau, where Data makes a child, and that one makes me cry now as an adult.
Don't laugh. Oh, that's so sad.
I know. I like the ones I really like. It's funny because, you know, like Next Generation, it really is about the characters and stuff. They're like these little plays, and sometimes they are like Star Trek does a mystery, or Star Trek does, decides to do this. And I'm trying to do a Rhino, and this is not where I need to look up my old Rhino. I'll do Rhino later. Yeah. There's also one called Family that's just like a comfort one for me, and that's the one where it's after Picard's assimilated and he just goes home to his brother to visit his brother.
Yeah,
and that's just one that it's really quiet and it's very emotional. And I remember as a kid liking it because it was like, oh my God, we're just seeing Picard like be a human.
Yep.
So I found that very interesting.
We just watched one the other day that had Screech in it from Saved by the Bell, where he's
Oh my, what?
yeah, oh yeah. It's one where Deanna Troy's mother comes in,
Whoa.
and yeah, I forget what her name is.
Dustin Diamond, though, is it? That's
Yes,
great.
and it's an Alexander episode, and it's season 5. I forget what episode it is, but she sort of takes him under her wing
And,
because
and they have laughing hour.
yes, I believe so. Yeah,
Wait a
and
minute.
they go into the holodeck or something of the sort, and there's some mud bath, and it's really creepy because she's like
Yes.
naked in a mud bath with Alexander. But there's a floating head in there that has these like puzzle piece looking sort of.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That is Dustin Diamond.
Really? Is he uncredited? Because I
I
can't.
think so. I think so. But it's
Whoa.
him. If you look at it, it's him, and it says somewhere online that that's him.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, you got to go back and watch. You got to watch you some Screech in action.
Right.
Screech. Not that Dustin Diamond's a wonderful character at this point, but
Right.
but it is. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like.
Okay.
There's one that is really good too that my colleague at work loves, where people get trapped halfway in the floor.
Oh
Or,
yeah. That's a good one. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but yeah, that is a
yeah,
good one.
that one's fun. And there's always like there's tons of them. They're all good, but we love the cheesier, like the dumber the better. I think is our just
Yes.
general go-to. On
I'm also oh shoot, I did it again. I accidentally. Um, so favorite character Data.
okay,
And then as I got older though and watched Deep Space Nine, I really like Garrick, which if you don't
wait,
watch
Garrett.
this, Garrick is actually Andrew J. Robinson, who's best known from the Hellraiser probably franchise, but he played him, but he plays an amazing Cardassian. But yeah, like definitely as in my 20s, it was like, oh my gosh, I love Garrick.
Think I know the name and I know I've seen him. It's a matter of I just can't place
Yeah,
I can't connect the dots completely on that.
don't worry.
Okay.
But yeah, so oh man, did I do it again? I'm getting distracted. Like,
It's Star Trek talk.
yours is looking great. I think I might be kind of at that point where I'm like,
no, I have a hard time like looking up and seeing what people are doing during this, and so I'm like, I have to go back and watch oftentimes afterwards. Like, what did the person actually make?
I've done like a bunch of characters.
I mean,
That's 3, which I'm amazed.
Yeah, I saw the frog. I saw the
I got frog. I got octopus.
Yeah.
And I got.
You got part of a rhino.
Yeah, I did a running rhino in another piece, and I'll have to look back and see how I did him. But he's got like a fun shape, but he was looking a little too weird.
So let me ask you this question, because this is like sort of related to you sort of starting over or doing things like with the aesthetic that you have, with the aesthetic that I have, there's a tendency to just like make cool images and not get caught up in like, this is going to sound maybe bad the way I put this, but not get caught up in perfection.
Yeah.
Like things can be a little wonky. Things can be, you intentionally leave things to be a little weird. And I'm wondering with, hold on, that audio is coming in. My wife, came downstairs to give me Star Trek cards so we can talk about Star Trek cards. But the idea of like mistakes and what is considered a mistake.
Yes.
Know when to stop. How do you know when you've gone awry? Like the challenges that come with all this. There obviously is going to be a battle in the sense of like, oh, this is working, this isn't. How do you decide those factors?
Yeah. Well, okay. it's kind of interesting because yeah, you probably if people are watching, you probably see me kind of like click through this a little bit as far as starting over. So I will say that like a big part of my kind of style and artistic philosophy is like working with mistakes. Like I describe my style as awkwardly whimsical or whimsically awkward. And some of that is like I've been a big fan of, like Japanese brushwork ever since I was a kid. And it's very lyrical and Egon Schiele, where it's just like these wonky life drawings and stuff. And part of that has meant that I've kind of leaned into a lot of mark making and, like a 10-minute gesture is my favorite thing. And I think there's just part of that does come from the way I work is like the trust in that process. So if it's something that's really quick, like I kept starting over certain things and just knowing like, oh, that needs to it's not fitting the dimensions, I'll just start over. But a lot of times what I try to do is like work into a piece and keep those mistakes because it does like come back into just like the aesthetic, like we've been talking about. It is part of the aesthetic. And go ahead.
I was going to say, do you find that you make, and this is going to be a loaded statement, but do you find that you make a lot of mistakes in your work? Like, I make mistakes and then I go, I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to cherish it.
Right. Yes, I do. And like, even with some of it, it's very organic. But like if I like this guy, I did a color and it wasn't the right color. And instead of starting over or putting a new color in that shape, you know how you can just kind of drag it?
Yep.
I was like, no, I'm actually going to pick the color I want and go over it because that green underneath is going to add to the richness of the piece.
Okay.
So, and that's how, and here's the thing of me working in gouache and probably what you also, Mark, kind of went through with your work is that if you make a mistake, like incorporate, when you're painting, you can't, yes, you can start over, but if I did this as a painting, what would I do if it was like, oh, that green's not the right green? I would paint over it. Mm-hmm. And that makes my work appear more painterly and not as, like a lot of people are like, oh, I love the texture and I love the brush strokes. And then they're amazed when I say it's digital, but I'm still treating it like it was a painting to some degree and saying, well, if it was a painting, I can't just delete that layer. I have to work around it. Yeah. And I realized that keeping that mentality, makes my work appear more hand done when I'm working digitally.
Yeah. Or people go, I really love that texture. And you go, yeah, that's totally intentional. That's what I meant to do. Some of it is just like lucky.
Right. Happy accidents.
Yes. Happy accidents. And I that's good to hear because I have that same battle of like, I love my mistakes and I love that some people look at them and go like, oh, you did a really good job there. And they don't understand that it was totally not intended that way or whatever it may be. But I do think that it's good that people understand that what we're doing is not like some of it is choice. Some of it clearly is I'm making decisions on the lines that I draw or
right
that I choose. But some of it really is just sort of the luck of the land or the approach that I take allows that kind of mistake to be legitimized or when I choose like I use it as an example. If I decide that I want to draw a car, I can just draw a car and make it whatever. And because the world that I play in is not realism, no one goes, that isn't a car. Cars don't look like that because I've set up the boundaries, or my boundaries are so loose rather, in a way that no one sits there and goes, you've done a poor job with this. Because they're not
a Camry.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cars don't have 5 wheels. And I'm like, in my world, they do.
Right. Talk to Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, so like there's an advantage to having this little bit of like character or wonkiness because it allows more flexibility or freedom in other moments or when there is a, a line that goes awry. People don't question it because lots of lines go awry.
Well,
Um,
and what I've noticed, I hope you don't mind me
no, go ahead,
interjecting.
please.
What I've noticed is that you have cultivated many years of trusting yourself in the process, right? Like
Yeah,
there is something to be learned from that. The fact that I've known people who try to do that or try to yeah, just be in that mind frame that you're talking about, and it's not easy. Like they really struggle with it. So, that in itself, even if you're making mistakes or you're like, yeah, I didn't exactly mean to do that, like the fact that you left it there says something about your years of experience.
I wonder, like one of the things that gets me all the time, and I don't know if this hits the same way again, but when I look at work by other artists, I look at it and I go like, oh man, they did this amazing thing. And then when you get up close to the work, you can see how they actually made it. And it's not as glamorous sometimes as my mind makes it out to be. And so
Mm.
Instagram itself, there's lots of beautiful images on Instagram that probably in person would not have the same power. And so like
Yeah.
going to a museum, we went and saw Robert McCloskey um, exhibit that was at the MFA here. And my interest was not in the finished artwork. My interest was in the notes on the side and the little like patches where you had to cover up a little drop of paint and
Ah.
that were the hidden behind the curtain elements of the illustrations that not everybody is going to, or most people don't like. They want to look past that and see the beauty of the art, and I'm interested in those moments because it really gave me validation that like, oh, what doesn't look finished in front of me might actually look finished when it's in production. And
Right, right.
like
It does like transcend, doesn't it?
yeah, so like when I pulled out that work the other day in class, you mentioned like just dumping stuff on the table in front of students. I'm sure that there was probably some students in there going like, oh, I've seen these images online. I thought they were way more complex, or I thought they were, like this doesn't have the same pizzazz. And it's like, no, it there's, you can see glue and you can see little like mistakes or whatnot. And some of it's covered up in digital like editing, but some of it's just, you have to be there in person. And so
Right.
trusting that there's a point in which doing the hard work here and knowing like it's enough that or that the mistakes are going to be overlooked, I think is a
Mm.
skill. And I would say, I mean, I don't want to say that you make mistakes too, because that's me assuming, but I do think that, the same thing could be said for your work of like trusting that a shape just will make sense. Like we talked about the symbols or the icons of what
Right.
you're doing. Like there's a point where you go, oh, this is going to make sense to the audience. And the I'm trying to draw a lion here in the background.
I'm gonna get up so I can see.
No, it's no, that doesn't look good. It's just a little subtle pink line. It's a crest of arms or a arms of crest or whatever that's.
Ah.
I'm trying to figure out what I need to put in there. Maybe a deer or something. But that idea of like trusting that the icon or the symbol that you chose is going to make sense for the audience is always really challenging, and that's where like that level of realism versus expressionism is always interesting. Looking at like a bird like you're drawing here, you could go in and do a wing that has hundreds of feathers, but you could also do something that just has like three fingers that act like fingers, and we understand that because the other clues you're giving us in the image. So so here my wife did bring these down. We got to talk about this for a second because
Okay, let me get up so
Star
I can
Trek.
see.
So we got these Star Trek cards, and of course they have stuff
Oh.
like Lieutenant Reginald Barclay, and they have
Yay, I
stuff.
do love Hollow Pursuits. That's another really good episode with
But
Barclay.
there are cards in here, and I forget where they are. There's one that's just like signage on the spaceship, I don't. Is it in here?
They're
Maybe
like, okay, we
it's
need
like,
we need a full deck.
yeah,
Caps is
it's
asking.
let's see, like phaser type 1 totally makes sense. Phaser type 2, I get that. Phaser type 3, here it is. U.S. Enterprise ship signage.
Oh wait, hold it up. Like one of my. Oh, okay.
Like that's a card. It explains like how the ship signage works, and it's just like, I'd rather have one that says like Starfleet uniforms or whatever, but like Starfleet rank insignia. Like some of these are not fun cards they put in this thing. But like, less special lighting effects, cool. I get it. The people, I get it. But just signage is so dumb.
I like to think there's somebody out there who's been looking for that card for their
Yeah,
whole life, and they're like, "Oh, he has
they're
it!"
so excited.
Right?
I got those for my wife at some, it was a flea market place that was up in Maine, I think. And they had all these weird old vintage trading cards for like weird movies. Like I got her some Harry and the Henderson
Oh, I love it. I love
cards,
that
like
movie.
just stuff that like shouldn't be trading cards.
Like, why does this exist? Yeah.
Yeah, and they just had boxes of these things, and so
Oh my gosh.
you could just buy the whole box if you wanted. But I got a few of these Star Trek cards for her at one point, and we were sort of laughing hysterically at some of the types of cards that were in it. Um, okay, back to art, back to life. um, are there so one of the things that I've been sort of poking around with a little bit myself is like going back to some things that I did earlier in my career or my learning process that I've been sort of interested in. Like there is part of me that wants to get a big old canvas out and paint again
Right.
in the way
Yeah,
that
I
I
can
haven't in ages. And
understand that.
I'm wondering like, especially since you're using Procreate and, you did have a past just like me through school where you probably had to try a lot of things that you were not either partial to or challenge your convention of what art may be. I'm wondering, do you have any sense of like these are the things that I want to incorporate or play around with again in life? Basically, I've hit a
I
midlife crisis, I think, where my crisis is not sports cars and flashy things. It's me questioning like the validity of my career and what I'm doing.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not
I
these
think that's
questions.
normal. Mine was this summer I actually did um start a sketchbook again. It's something I say I keep I'll do that. I'll do that. I keep telling myself. And I finally decided, yeah, I really needed to do that. So I kept a sketchbook and because if there's one thing I do love from my RISD days back in college, I have 4 sketchbooks that I love. And I think they might be the best things I did during my college years. And so getting back to that has always been like, I would love to do that. And that means that this summer I found played around with it. And some of that work is on my Instagram if you look now. And here, let me see if I can find one and kind of try to flash it on the screen. Um,
So were you not a sketchbook person just in general before that?
I've kind of gone away from it, and definitely to the level I was in college.
Yeah.
Like the college sketchbooks were like they were like art books, and it became more function. It became more like I have this job I need to sketch out.
Yeah.
And so part of it, like this is one I did. I'm a Severance fan. Um, but I'm showing you on my computer. I'm just like holding it under the
Yeah.
camera, but I just
That's
played with mixed media and tried not to, pressure myself. But just trying to be like, I'm going to keep a sketchbook that's not tied to jobs or anything like that. And yeah, part of it is because of the ease of Procreate, and especially when I had small children, and just literally taking up that space in my house. Like I kind of lost it, and I was like, I'm going to, darn it, like do this again.
Yeah.
Um,
I have bottles of turpentine sitting around with little ones. You have to be,
right.
yeah.
But also part of it was inspired because, again, going back to our students and what we're seeing when they come in the classroom, it used to be that people used to play around in Photoshop in high school, and that's Procreate. And what I realized is that I was saying way too many times in critique. I was trying to help someone and be like, you can see the digital stroke, like you can see the evidence,
Yeah.
and not in a good way, not in a fun, messy way. And I realized that more and more I was telling the students, like, look, if you want to do watercolor brushes and Procreate, you actually got to go out and play with watercolor. If you don't know what you're trying to emulate digitally, then it's sort of like you're putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
And there was their last assignment, I said, look, everyone's going to have to use traditional media for our last assignment, which definitely ended up well, but scared some of them. And of course, once they got to a certain point, it was like, if you need to add little tiny details, like, which is also, I think there's education in that, like, yes, you can do something to 90% done and then take it in the computer, and maybe you need to fix this, or maybe you realize, oh, I need to adjust the beat color a little bit, or just learning how to assemble things. So I do try to tell students, like, even if you work traditionally, it helps to be comfortable digitally.
Yep.
So you can just make quick edits for clients and stuff like that. But, after walking them through that, I thought, like, man, I really need to go back to just sketching. So, I got, one of my students uses concentrated watercolor, and for my birthday, I kind of splurged and got myself some of that. And of course, I still have like all my old gouache and ink. I love ink and toothpicks, actually, believe it or not.
Ink and toothpicks.
Drawing with toothpicks. Yeah.
The toothpick is your pen nib essentially at that point.
Right. And it's random, and it doesn't always behave, and it does random things. Like the severance thing I showed you had a lot of toothpicks to it. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been jamming with.
Interesting. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna see what happens. I'm
Yeah.
not toothpicks for, like, especially if it like sticks to the pen. Like, I assume you're holding it
Yeah.
straight down, so it jumps a little here and there, and
It jumps, it splits, it does all sorts of cool things, and I love it.
okay. The aspect of just like play essentially is the sentiment of, like, if it becomes too formulaic, I need to, and I imagine this is probably right in your wheelhouse of, like, I need to play. And
Yes.
if it becomes a formula, if it becomes something that I know exactly where it's going, like, well, count me out. I don't want that. And so, the idea of, like, even sketching, like my sketch I have in front of me is telling me where things kind of need to go, but things are changing as I put them down, just because I'm not following the sketch to a T, and I want to figure it out. One of the things I was talking to students and talking to a mentee the other day about was the idea that I don't want a sketch to sit on top of my piece ever. So I don't know, like, going back doing graphite transfers back in the day, then it becomes I'm trying to, like, match a line perfectly. I'm trying to, like, replicate what the sketch was. And now it's, okay, I want to be as far away from the sketch as possible. And obviously you need it for certain clientele or things of the sort, but, like, the idea of what the sketch looks like, I look up at it randomly. It's not a comparison chart that I'm going towards on a regular basis. And I think that has helped at least me in my practice a little bit more become looser in some way and less, again, formulaic.
Yeah, and I completely second that. I think for me, that's what would happen in college is I would do a sketch, which my teachers would love, and then I would get really timid, and I would get really timid and tense, and I would kind of lose that fluidity in the final.
And they'd be like, well, it's not capturing what it did in the sketch. And you're like,
yes,
and I tried.
And I know, I really did try, you guys. But yeah, so, and it's funny because some of that is just time. And honestly, I do think, the thing that always sucked is when you had a great sketch and I tried all those things you're talking about with transferring and, doing things like, okay, the carbon transfer or light tables and stuff. But there is something that was so nice digitally about being like, if I did a perfect sketch on a Post-it note, I could take it in because I could never redraw it twice.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So like that when it comes to digital, just to again, like God, there's so much that's just about dealing with your own brain and what your brain is trying to get in the way of, whether it's like you tense up or something, or you feel pressure. So digital has been a good tool for me to use sometimes when it's just I'm not worried about a stray mark here and there, even though I do love working with analog
Yep.
materials. It's a dance. You
Well,
don't have to pick.
let me ask you this, because one of the
Yeah.
things I've decided.
Sorry, I'm just throwing this out there. I think I do have to wrap up in the next 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Let me ask this one quick question, then we can sort of
Yeah.
it off. One of the things I've realized for digital for me is I can't work with digital the way that digital's intended for it to feel like
Mm.
the equivalent of what I've told people is if I do any artwork on digital besides a sketch, it can only have one layer. And that's with the intention that I have to push edges and I have to redraw on top versus sort of just moving stuff around and
Yeah.
going, oh, I'm going to put a lighting effect on it. I'm going to use this special layer effect today. Or it's as I suggested to some students and whatnot, is like put a limit on you're not allowed to zoom in.
Right, right. I
And
had a
like,
student yesterday. She like over rendered some hair.
yeah, and then it doesn't show up in the final.
Yeah.
And so like that idea of not treating it like, oh, I can do everything that digital allows me to do, of zooming in or layers or undo or those kinds of odds and ends, I think helps in some way. But when you're working digitally, do you have any sort of rules of engagement like that?
I try, probably the one is, I mean, and it's funny you mentioned that because I even checked like my ducks on one layer. It's just nice to have them, separate from the back. That's like the only one. It's like just, especially for surface design licensing, it's like I'm going to make all these animals into a pattern probably. So I need to be able to move them. But the main one I told you about is I try to, as much as possible, work into it the way I would if it was a painting. So if I
Yeah.
do something once again and it's not the right color, like even now I'm like, I need it to be darker. And it's sort of like dual purpose. It's like texture is always fun, but at the same time, it's like I am also trying to adjust my contrast and stuff. I try to work into it the way I would if it was actually paper and color pencil and marker. And if I, for instance, like, okay, I kind of drew over this chain, I'm just going to draw over it. I also, what's kind of interesting along that lines of keeping it more like my work is, when you're painting and your brush like naturally starts to mix with the paint water and you accidentally pick up other colors.
Yep.
I don't have like a saved palette. One thing that I find makes it more painterly is like if I have two colors here, but I'm just going to pick like a random one. And in that blue dot, I'm not going to erase it. I'm just going to work into it because that's what you would do. And I don't know why it's not.
You sort of, you mix it in so it's less visible or.
Right. But
Yeah.
all those decisions mimic what I don't know why my brush is, did I lose the connection? That's funny.
They run out of battery.
Right. It didn't, but what's going on? That's weird. I must have accidentally selected something. It's making me into a liar. But the idea that it's, well, I guess it's a good thing I'm wrapping up because something's going on.
No. Well,
but yes, like I guess what I'm saying is that it's like if I have colors, if I want like some of that color, I'll just pick a random color in this arm and work into this because that emulates more what would actually happen in the painting process. Like your pure colors would start to have little variations because your brush is picking up stuff or your water isn't 100% clean anymore.
Yep.
So I do have things like that. And I try to enough layers to keep me organized, but like this character ended up all on one layer. Whereas like, let's see what I started with. Like, okay, I had this mess up layer. He's just a sketch. But he's pretty much 2 layers.
Do you when you're working, do you find that shoot, I just lost my I'm like trying to recover it as I say it. Well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna shift back to my normal cam. Uh,
Okay. Should I
we,
do the
we
same
can,
thing?
yeah, we can do a proper send off because I do want to make sure that you get out on time and you're not
Yeah.
stuck talking till the end of days. Um, Let me just
I
wash my.
have like
Um,
here.
I was gonna say just that idea of like, yeah, having the palette where like colors accidentally get into each other, and that's the hard part for digital for me. Is like, how do I do that? Because it doesn't. You pick a color and you work with it, and there's like, let
Right.
it blend together, and so um, that's been a struggle. But there are solutions to it. I know there are. It's a matter of I may be using the wrong program in some sense. Like what is it? Adobe Fresco has some
Yeah.
like wet on wet
Okay.
sort of techniques of
Oh.
the sort. But anyway, this has been lovely. I've had a wonderful time.
Yes.
I'm glad we got to catch up, and maybe at some point we can do a little have you zoom into a class or something like that up north, and you can tell the students what for and say I
I
used
would
to be
love
there.
to. I've done that before. And I was afterwards, I'll hit you up because I was going to say, oh, I wonder if you might want to be a guest judge for something we're doing in my class.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, we'll.
I'd love to see because I don't know the school in particular, so I'd love to see. I've heard of the school you're at before, but I imagine like what was the school before?
Well,
Was it,
it's Watkins College of Art, and
okay,
now we have been absorbed into Belmont University.
that's right. Okay, does
Yeah,
it still have the heart?
it
Uh,
does. It does,
okay,
and we kind of merged with their art department, and so we're one. It's been a good transition. Yeah.
okay, good, good. That can always be really tricky. We
Yes, especially like I said, it was during COVID, and it's kind of crazy. So
yeah. So, anyways, this has been lovely. I'm glad that we got to catch up. And if you would do me a favor, and I
okay,
everybody and I'll do the same. If you post what you made today, I don't know.
okay, I
I don't know.
probably will.
Uh, if you post the stuff, tag me in it so I can see it.
Of course, yeah, yeah. I had a great time, and it was so nice to actually catch up with you,
Yeah.
face to face as much as we can. Um,
Someday, my parents live in Tennessee now.
oh, really?
They live in Knoxville though, so it's
Okay.
not Nashville, but you're near Nashville, right?
Yeah, I'm like in Nashville now.
Oh, you're in Nashville. Okay.
Yeah.
There is a dream of mine to not a dream. It's not that big of a dream, but when I go down there sometime, I want to go over to Nashville just because I've never been and I know that it's a lovely location, all the music and all
Yeah.
that. And so if I'm ever in town, I will give you a buzz and I will take you out for a drink or something of the sort. As
Please, please do. I look forward to it.
all right. Otherwise, go have fun today. Go teach those students. And
Thank
I
you,
will
and
be in
thank you all
touch.
for joining us. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was a pleasure to be here. So I'll see you around.
Okay.
All
Bye.
right, bye.
All right, folks. So I have another hour. I'm getting close to being done with this, but another hour. And then I have to get out of here. I have an appointment I gotta get to. But that was Lauren Lowen. I still want to say Minko. Lauren Lowen, but online they go as Lauren Minko Lowen as their Instagram handle. Again, does all sorts of cute surface design, etc., but things like little board books, things like picture books, etc., across the board. And before I forget, next week we have Chris Chatterton on, who my guess is a lot of folks know out of the UK. He's going to be joining us. And so before anybody drops off, just make sure you tune in next week for that. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try to get this finished. And then I will try to get out the door in a reasonable time frame. But let me switch back down so we can get this rocking and rolling. You know what I'm going to do while I'm here? You get to see my wall. That's the sketch. I'm going to get rid of the Ask Us Anything. Wait, where is Ask Us Anything? Where'd that go? It should be pinned. That's weird. Okay, I'm going to do a Ask Me Anything in here. So if you have questions, just ask me the questions. I'm happy to answer. and relay any and all information I can. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Okay. Well, you can see the light. Has it always been that way this whole time? That there's been a white streak at the top? Really? Has it been like that the whole show? Did I literally, like, you're catching the light and I just need to move my phone down? I sure hope not. I have to go back and watch, and I can't really do that right now. Anyways, that's weird. It just all of a sudden appeared. Oh, you know what it is? It's probably because it zoomed in or zoomed out when I did it. And I got that, but that was weird. Okay, so I had to take a drink there. I'm going to keep working on this. If people have questions, holler. I'm a little torn about that color right now, and like, is it too... Is it too yellow? Does it need to be darker? Like, I like a little bit of it, like a little strip of it or something, but I'm just afraid it's too bright because I don't have that yellow really popping anywhere else. Although, oh, you know what that was going to be? That was going to be a stairwell. So maybe I just need to put the stairwell in, so it's maybe not as much. What's up there? So let me see. If I start with this edge here, run that up like that, and I just go like this. Boop, boop, boop. Scissor cuts. No, you're on 5.5. Oh, okay, got it. Took me a second there to understand what that was saying. I messed with some setting there or something of the sort. So we are back. Okay, let's see. I think that's probably wide enough. Let's hope. Because then I just have a little sliver of it if I do this, which is better. So it's not as strong of a pop with that. And I gotta do faces. I'm not real keen on this face yet, so I gotta figure it out. And then I gotta do clouds. And then I gotta do other little details, but my little sneaky wolf coming in. Let me see, get this up here and get the stairs taken care of. Just wrap that over. In fact, there's a little sliver there that probably needs to be tweaked. So what I'm gonna do is just cut another little section like this, and then paste on top. There's a little sliver right there that is not quite matching up based on the angle. It's just the cut was a little funky. And so I take another piece, that same thing, no one will be the wiser, and I slide it in there and call it a day. There we go. Okay, the other thing I want to do is see if I do have any of that sort of yellow swatch that I can put down anywhere else in this piece. With the reason that I don't want it to be just a standalone if I can help it. It's a matter of I don't know where that swatch came from. And so I may not have that color available anymore. I was hoping I would. But all these are like so pure yellow. I don't know if I want to put this pure yellow anywhere. I could put it on those guys. Maybe that's what I'll do. Because then they have something underneath so it bleeds through a little bit. Anyway, ask questions. Let's start that statement over. What kind of questions do people have? How can I help? What do you need help with? What are your concerns in life? Lauren was your professor in MSI. Now that Lauren's not here, let's ask that question. Was Lauren a good professor? Did Lauren do a good job? My wife's name is Lauren too, so it was confusing me at first when I read that. They're two different people. But it did confuse me. But was Lauren a good professor? I'm assuming so. I know Lauren was a good professor when they were at the school I teach at, so can't imagine too much has changed. And from the sound of our conversation today, it seemed to make sense that there was some good professorship. Okay, Teacher Marin. Yeah, she was amazing. I learned so much more. Okay, Teacher Marin says tips on securing your own voice. Good. This is a question that I think is the big question for a lot of people. Sort of, how do you define you as you and not just one of the many? And I think there are how do I put this? There are different methods to this madness. I don't think all of them are better than the other. I think that it really just depends on the person and sort of what they need at the time and what they can get out of whatever process gets them there. But I think the idea of as sort of what we talked about today is like, you have to let go. You have to say, I don't care what my voice is, or I don't care about what people want from me. I'm going to make what's me. And that, I know that's not an easy thing to do, especially if you're new and starting out in the world of illustration, that there's so many styles, there's so many approaches that it's hard not to compare of some sort. I think that the bigger thing that I would sort of focus on in all of it is sort of what is fundamentally things that you do over and over in your work, and not try to push them away, but to make them the star. So like the equivalent of a lot of people come to me, and I know this is not necessarily, it's not meant to be bragging or anything of the sort, but people come to me and often say that they like my color work or they like my textures. And it's like, okay, that's, that's important to me. Obviously that's a big star in what I do, and I'm proud of that. But I also know that, I don't want someone to come to me and say, hey, we like your texture. And then all of a sudden I'm going, well, I have to do that because they told me it. I think it's better that I like it and they've confirmed it, I guess is a better way to sort of address what I'm talking about. And so the more that you can get to a situation wherein you are not reacting to a given concern, and instead people are reacting to your actual aesthetic or your thought process, all the better. So then it means you have to spend some time really figuring out sort of what is important to you, and get rid of the idea of like who's going to see your work. Imagine if you had an audience of you, everybody was you, and they like certain things. They like the stuff that you like. Play to them. Play to your kid, to you, not to your kid, but to your younger self. What are the things that you like? So like in my case, I like things being weird. The weirder, the better. So like when I watch television shows or I media, like weird things are fun. And so why not introduce some of that into the work that I'm making? Why not introduce some of the quirkiness into the type of images that I'm making and whatnot? And so to me, that I'm not liking this edge. Hold on, I'm gonna scrub it before it gets too solid there. I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna just paint this darkness in this stairwell. But that is stuff that shows up outside of artwork. I am someone who has for years advocated for the idea that I don't want to mimic other artists. I want to mimic things in life, or I want to, when I I'm interested in things, oftentimes it's not artwork, it's other things outside of artwork that, you know, I bring back in some capacity. So if it's like science and I like some of the like theories of science, well, let's bring that in through like the science of light or the science of whatever. Or if I like, I'm trying to think of good examples of this kind of stuff. If I like, let's see if this works. Oh yeah, I can do this. I'm putting shadows in here from these, from this railing. I'm just gonna write right on top. There we go. If I like, you know, something that's mechanical, or like in this case, I really love puzzles. I think puzzles are fun, and so like make something that feels like things pieced together. Like I think that's the that's an important factor to sort of play around with, is look at what is important to you outside of your artwork. See if there's ways to bring it back in, because more than likely that is going to set you up for some sort of great visual or some great sort of approach that maybe not everybody leans on or everybody uses in their work, if that makes any sense. I'm not a big fan of this here, so I'm going to see if I can tone that down just a touch. That tone that's right there. So I'm going to see if I can get rid of that. There we go. See. Okay, let me do these faces, because these faces are probably the next thing that needs to happen. I don't know if that answered the question, but it's what I had in the moment. Where's that pink? What is it? You don't know what the color this is? It's called pink. That's it. It's just called pink. Just pink. So here's what I'm gonna do. I want to make this nose a little bit more pronounced. That was way too pronounced. I need a piece of paper towel. Let me see this. Get out of there. I'm not even sure about that. Let's try something else here. Let's see about giving a different shape to the face. What happens if I give a weird sort of mouth like this? Let's see. I'm trying to figure out like what do I want to do for shape here. Bear with us, everyone, as I try to figure out how I'm going to make my little Sleeping Beauty in this case. Do that. Let me trim that back there. There we go. So I can keep that eye. Now she's got a weird sort of shape face, and I'll carry that hair over, so it will cover up that little bit right there. But I want her to feel a little odd. She's a Sleeping Beauty, but she ain't so beautiful. If you want to know the truth, she's a little uggo. There we go. Okay. Now, here's what I gotta do. I gotta get this black. I gotta get enough of a dry brush that I can get a nice sort of like hairy texture. And then give her some sort of bangy like effect here. I need a little bit of water. I don't want a lot. I just need to round this out a little bit more than what he's giving me right now. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to give her a nose. A little pink, a little brown, a little bit more pink. Give this a little like hint of an ear. There's the nose. That feels so much better to me than what it was. And you'll see what I do with it. There's going to be some eyes and there's going to be nostrils and whatnot in there. But okay, so let's work on these other guys. These other guys need hats. And it's a question of what color hat do I want to put on them? What color hat do I want to put on them? I don't want it to be the same as that. I don't want it to be the same as the door. I'm like looking at the colors I've used through all of this so far. Maybe they just need light hats. So if it matches somewhat of this like tone down here. Do I have any more of that same swatch? What did I use for that? I could probably take some of this. Let's try this. So I'm going to put a weird little, for some, I don't know if these are hats that make sense for the era, but I like these like weird little pointy hats on guys like this. And so if I make one of these and sort of tuck them in inside that and cut, come on, accordingly right there. And I just need to trim that down so it's just not as tall. Let's see, does that fit? Hopefully that fits. There we go. Yep, that'll fit right there. Okay, let's get this hat. Thank you, Mrs. Hoffy. On the color palette. Originally, this was going to be all like grays and browns and whatnot, because I was thinking like, oh, castle colors. But then when I was looking through my scraps, because I'm trying to use scraps, my scrap bin here is excessive at this point. Trying to use scraps, I found some swatches. I was like, oh, those are kind of nice colors. Maybe I can mix those together. And well, here we are. I'll have to trim away a little bit of this one, but well, maybe I won't. So I stick it out there like that. I want to break that edge and get outside of the castle a little bit here, so it's not within. If I stick it down like this, it should be good right there. And maybe I'll touch it up with a little more white or something on the top. Trim away a little piece. Boop. That may be good. Okay. Oh, this is dry. Get in here and add some texture. Illustration geek, taking my domestic class. Really enjoying it so far. Thank you. I'm glad to hear it. It was so long ago in my mind, that class. And what I did for the class feels so like antiquated to me that I worry that are people enjoying it. But I'm glad to hear that it's still getting, I get little statements saying like how many people take it per month. And like right now, I think it's still in like the I want to say it's in like the 60s or 70s, something like that, the amount of people that take it, which is cool. Like, I didn't think it would have that kind of longevity. But it was fun to film, I'll tell you that much. Got to go over to France to do it. Got to be a real Frenchman for a little bit. Okay, let's go make this lady shine here. She's a little piggy, because piggy's fun. Then we'll give her some brows, some eyelashes. Then I'm going to put some little teeth. And they're just a little... she's so dumb looking. I love it. Okay, let's give her a... Maybe I'll give her a couple freckles or something like that to jazz it up. It's a little too much tone in the cheek there. Let's tone that down just a touch. I'll come back maybe with a little bit of a... Okay, and then I need, bear with me, get this sharp. I'm going to get her knuckles in here so we can see that her hands are sort of over the bed. And then let's get some other colors. On top of that, there's my knights there. Maybe I'll give another like spear that comes up here, or whatever these are called. If there's someone out there that knows what these are called, don't blame me. I'm just going to call them a spear. I know it's probably not accurate, but... Okay, let's get a nose on this guy. Let's get a little big nose on that one. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I realize there's some other little moments of color I want to get in here, like this little band on this tapestry. I want to get that sort of played up a little bit. Okay. Ooh, I also need a frame on the wall in here. Put in a frame here. Too bright. Tone it down. A little bit of yellow. Touch it up. Maybe I'll cut it. That's it's a little too much for me right now. If I do it like that, it's probably good. Where is my scissors? Where are my scissors? Where are my scissors? Need to use them right now. The princess is in another castle. Okay, let's put this in there while I wait for those faces to dry. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to draw that as a picture frame. So make a little treatment on the edge. This had a drawing of a vase in it. The flowers. Right there. That's the other post of the bed. In fact, maybe I'll just do it with the brown the way that's supposed to be done. The brown paint. Okay, let's get these fellers drawn. A lance. Thank you, Teacher Marianne. Knew someone would pull through and tell me what it was. This guy had a beard. Draw that. Beard in. Let me get these little drawings like that. Let me get what do I want? I want this. So, oop, I didn't get shoved enough. Step up. Try again. There we go. Yeah, these little hats. Okay. Let's see. I also need, what else was there that I wanted to get? Oh, I had a little tapestry here that I should make. I'm gonna make that. Let's see if this color will sit up there. be enough. I just wonder if it's light enough or if it's different enough. It may not be different enough. Let's try. I don't want to change up the color palette too dramatically, but let's try this. This one might work. A little bit more of a purpley tone. Yeah. Trim it down here like so. Let's see. If I put that in there, that should work. Okay. I do want rosy cheeks if I can get it on these. They're twins. That one's got a big old mustache. Someone's got a big old mustache. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. A little bit back in that. Yeah. Yeah. That. Let's see. The other question I have is originally I was going to do maybe do some sort of clouds and rain and stuff outside here, but what to think about it here. I need to throw in some stuff and see if it makes sense for that, because it may not. I'll give a couple of these squares our green and palette. Just to, again, break it up. Just a little. There we go. Okay. So that guy's stuck down. Now let's come back in here. I think it's stuck down. Looks like the edges are not sticking 100%. Let's do this too. I like this ladder isn't actually touching anything, but it is a little weird. I wonder if I should make a little wall that runs right there like that. So it looks like it's touching it. Yeah, I'm going to keep it. It's not touching anything. It's funny. I like it. Okay, let's give this tapestry some sort of curtain rod type aspect. Maybe along that lines, and then this had fringe at the bottom too, so let's do Something like this. That guy needs to be tweaked. It got away from me. The color got funky. Sort of peeled up a little bit, which I didn't like. Okay. And now do some drawing on this. It's going to have some sort of drawing like that on it. A couple of big stinky hinges here. Let's get a line around that doorway. What else do we need? We need tweak these just ever so slightly so they're lining up a little bit better. Not much. Okay. Stairwell there. I really like that like texture that's in there, but it's a question of can I get that into anything else that's here? Let me try to do the owls down here. Ooh, my tummy's grumbling. My tum-tum is grum-grum. Just soften those a bit. A little bit of that texture showing up. Okay. I feel like the wolf needs something in his hand, but I don't know. Maybe not. I also think, should he be looking down at the princess more? Versus he's sort of looking a different direction. Let me see. Cover up those pupils. And redirect them. Because I didn't have to cover them up completely. Give that a second to dry. Hit it again, my friend. Might do this down. Yeah, there we go. He's looking down more now. Pointy pupils. And the other thing I was going to do is I was going to get in here and more evil and sadistic, the better. What I might do is put some little claw marks there. Okay, now it becomes a question of, do I want to put clouds out in this space? And I would need, let's try this. It's a little difficult to, the background, meaning like these two, Lauren. If that's the case, then I can come in and I can do a little sort of brighten this. Okay. Yeah, let's brighten that up a little bit. On here, I might need to do it with some paint. It's not an issue down here at all, I don't think, but I get it. Especially towards the bottom of it. This one? I'm pointing at it. The top left corner? Yeah, I want that to bleed a little there. I want that transparency that's there. I get it. I see what you're talking about, but that's intentional. Okay, let's see. Get that there. Let's let that dry. I was going to put maybe a little table or something there. That's the table. Okay. The only other thing I can think of, I mean, besides doing clouds, if I want to do clouds, is should there be, again, something, should he have a fork? Whoa, could it be a Little Red Riding Hood, but in a, like, should he have fork, his hand, or a knife, and then this one has a fork? Well, let me see. What do I do with clouds? Do I want to do clouds in this? They're like, is that inside? Yeah, I guess it is. Okay. Lauren, should I put little clouds in it? What? Might help it look what? True. What? Yeah, they don't have much value. I know. I know. Again, I'm playing with subtlety. I don't want to do too much, but I'm going to put some white lines on them. Let's see what happens if I get the other option that I could just literally draw some in, but I got to wrap in about 20 minutes max. Not even. Less than that. I got to get out the door. I mean, I could also just slightly touch them with some white paint. Let's see. It's a little bit softer. Not a lot. There's that one, there's that one. This one. That one. That one's been touched. That one's got the cheese touch. let these dry for a second. What I might do is come in and do some little like little swirly cues on them. I still could use more. Okay, let's try a bigger brush this time. A little bit more white paint. Let's try this. Non-parents probably don't know about the cheese touch. I know. I was thinking about that the other day. I mentioned it to Charlie. Like I just said something about the cheese touch. And thinking about how great a concept that is as a thing in a book. Like to call it the cheese touch is such a funny name. And then like the idea that you could get sick or get the cheese touch is such a funny thing that who's it, Pilkey? No, not it's a oh, I can't think of his name. Yeah. Why can't I think of his name? Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Jeff Kinney, thank you. Like what a funny concept that is, the cheese touch. Yeah, oh, for those that don't know, yes. The cheese touch is a piece of cheese that was on the playground at the school in the book that was like, I think, I don't remember exactly how the setup for it is, but basically it's this gross piece of cheese that's been there for a long time. And if you touch it, that you get the cheese touch. And then the cheese touch is transferable to other people. And so if you're not careful and someone that has a cheese touch touches you, you can get the cheese touch, but there's a way to block it. And I forget what you have to say, but it's sort of like a kid's prank sort of thing that was developed in that book. In Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but just the word cheese touch is so funny to me. Let's get this to dry. I decided I'm going to do it on a new piece here. Let me get this to dry, and then out of here. Or did I just blow that? I just had the piece here. Now it's gone. Where'd that go? Is this it? No, that's not it, is it? Is that the piece that was just drying? Oh yeah, it is. Yep, it's wet. It's wet. I'm just going to mix in a couple other, just to break it up so it's not so pure. A little bit of yellow and even a touch of the brown and black. So it's just got a little irregularity to it. There we go. Let's blast it again. Oh, and this one. What is this? This is pale mint, which is in this piece. Ever so slightly, it's in this piece. Get a little touch much of that in here. Let me see. Now come back and hit it with white and blend out some of those variables. That looks pretty good. Okay, so let's cut some of these out now. There's a cloud there. Let's go up here and get one that goes. This one can be down here. And I need another one somewhere in. Let's try this one right here. Let's go. Hit, hit, hit. Maybe I'll ask my trainer today if she knows what the cheese touch is. She might be of the generation that would know. Which is scary. But there's that kind of a time frame to it. Maybe I'll do one more little snippet that can go, just go up there. So let's do this. Put this, put the fork in the hand and call it a day. What I'll do, I'll put that one there, put this one here. Do need, this edge just got a little dirty. I'm gonna touch it up a little bit more. White right there. Okay, how are we doing on time? Okay, let's get these in here. So this one first. Cloud above. Right here. Clouds. Clouds. What does Will Ferrell say in that bit? Something about like I don't like red cars or something like that. I forget what the thing is he says, but it's funny like that. Like some. Goes that one right there. need this one. Must be down here. Then we can wrap around the edge just so it sticks down better. Or I guess I can just trim it off right there. And then take this one. And this one needs to go boop, 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 boop. Right up against the building here. Okay. Last thing is a fork. We will give the wolf a fork. I should have a little. Ready to eat. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna. Whoa. Wedge of darkness there. Boom. That's a term, right? Wedge of darkness. Okay. I think we are good. Let me clean this up. Present this. Rain clouds. Yeah. Diane, I drive a red car. Oliver, make sure those poor people stay away from it. They got sores. It's such a funny skit. Okay. For people who don't know what I'm talking about, there is a SNL skit where the teleprompter goes out. And it's a morning talk show. And the morning talk show turns into chaos because that teleprompter is no longer working, and it becomes like Lord of the Flies-esque. It's a very, very funny bit. I think it's David Alan Grier is part of it. But okay, so let's get this up here. Let's take a look at this as a finish. So, some tweaking here and there has to happen on this. This gives you a sense of what we made for the day. Again, as I sort of wrap this up, Lauren Lowen, i.e. Lauren Lowen. Man, because I knew her as Lauren Minko, it's always going to be Lauren Minko. But Lauren Lowen was the guest today. Fabulous guest, worked with her ages ago with teaching at Montserrat College of Art, where I teach now. Lauren is a fabulous artist, a fabulous teacher. Go learn from Lauren. Next week we have Chris Chatterton on at 2 p.m., if I remember correctly. And so that should be fun. And if you get a chance, come poke around with us and ask questions and whatnot. Otherwise, this is my lovely wolf about to eat a princess, and the guards are none the wiser. Otherwise, go have a lovely week. I see one last tweak. No, that's the wrong color. That's not what I want. I wanted black. I see one other tweak I want to do, and it's because I put a wash on top of these that they are not quite as black as I want. So I'm just going to hit them again. There we go. Okay. So again, I will see you next week. Chris Chatterton, 2 p.m. on Thursday. Otherwise, we love y'all. See you later. Peace out.